Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm back. I'm Mike for episode 95 for Sunday, the 4th of September, 2022. And in this week's show, we'll be discussing the next Assassin's Creed game that's been officially announced. Halo Infinite's troubled journey gets even worse as local co-op gets cancelled. Sony kick off their PlayStation Studios mobile division with an acquisition. I wonder who. And it's big week in PC gaming as the next range of Ryzen CPUs are revealed. Right.
Shut up! Big week's on the radio! Shut up! It's gaming podcast audio!
All right. Welcome everyone to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Mike, finally back, still alive, to the joys of some and not so much the joys of others, unfortunately, but that's all good. If you'd like to support the show, we'd love to get you to subscribe to the show on YouTube or your favorite podcast app, because we are on voice only as well. And if you're a mega fan, come join us on the Discord. We do have Discord now. All the links in the description below or at bigwigpod.com. So we've got our executive producer, Integot.
Hello, Mike.
To my side.
Yeah,
And our editor-in-chief.
You pointed to the wrong direction. I love it.
Every time.
I do it every time.
I hate that it's flipped. I
Hey,
wish
you
there was a way
can't
to
talk.
reverse
You
that.
can't talk. You haven't been
I
introduced
can
yet.
talk. My name is Swinny,
I
damn it.
literally
I
can
have a
mute
voice.
you. I
You
can
cannot
mute you.
control me.
I am the executive producer. I have muted you right now. You can't.
Alright,
In the
well.
recording, you will be muted.
Over to my other side.
Go point.
That side. I did it. Woo! Is the editor-in-chief, Swinny. And he's muted.
No,
So-
you're unmuted.
Okay, you're unmuted.
As soon
Now,
as
Swinny.
it said Swinny, you could talk again, Swinny.
And over to that side is
Why is he actually
my
muted?
cat.
I don't know if
I'm
it's
just-
playing.
no,
Oh,
I'm
that's
just
good. Oh, that's good.
No.
Okay, you should. Okay, if you're listening on audio, you should actually watch the video. I was starting to go, how the fuck has he muted himself permanently?
No, yes. Hello there, everybody.
That's funny.
Welcome. So, boys, what's been going on since I've been away?
We had a big show last week. You would have tuned in, I'm sure.
I couldn't actually tune in on the night. I have watched a good. I'll be lying if I said the whole thing, but I will watch the entire thing. But I have watched chunks and bits of it already, and of course I thumbs it up most of the stuff that's been coming through on my feed. So
Oh, you're
Like
telling
everyone
everybody
should
our
be.
secrets.
Yeah, we'll get banned by you.
the only hits we get is from ourselves. Oh well, at least someone likes us.
That is not the case.
That's not the case.
There
the
are
case
some
at all.
people out there that do think we are. What was that? What did we say the other week?
Charismatic.
Was it in charismatic?
I like our brains can't retain it because it was so
No.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it was like it just felt like somebody would ever say that. What was it? Was
Yeah,
we are
unbelievable.
insanely charismatic.
Yeah,
That is,
unbelievable. Do not believe it.
appreciated, but also
It's got to be the
feels
beard.
very unearned, at least from my perspective.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
on that specific
Beard,
point.
there you go. My real
You just
face.
proved the right.
There you go. That just proved my point. Highly uncharismatic. I have to have the filter on because Integot, before the show started. What were your exact words, Integot? Please fill us in. What did you say
I said,
about my face?
No, put it back to the way it was.
Okay,
put it to your normal
back to the way
face.
it was. Okay, there you go. That's my normal face.
You popped on and I go, wow, you look terrible.
Thanks. This guy hasn't seen me for
No, I'm blunt.
2-3 weeks, and
You're
he
feeling
thinks
sick
I
as
look
well.
terrible. Thanks.
You're feeling sick, so it's
There's
probably
a
the
difference
sickness.
between being blunt and being an asshole. There is a difference.
Not in his head, there isn't. Zero difference. Oh,
No,
Well, you
but he
sound
likes
like
the
shit,
honesty.
Integot.
Yeah, I've been coughing like this for like weeks. It's a good start to the show.
So we do have a community question from Clufon. Did Swinny get the Splatoon 3 Switch?
So I was a little perturbed that EB Games.
Perturbed. What do you mean
Perturbed.
perturbed?
That's like when I say I
What's
peruse
perturbed?
the aisles at my local shopping center.
Perturbed?
Perturbed. I don't know.
That's the show title. Perturbed.
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 That EB Games never actually notified me that the actual thing was in,
How dare they?
and I unfortunately haven't had a chance to actually go because it's not like I need it right now to go get it. So my idea was I was probably going to go this week and just go and pick it up. But Yeah, normally EB games, they send you a text message or you get an email or something.
No, not always.
Well, every time I pre-ordered, I do. So
I've pre-ordered more things than you.
Yeah, I
and
usually.
I pre-ordered more things than you.
I'm in the Swinny.
I'm talking
Swinny
about.
camp.
I'm talking about my experience with my local EB
Same.
that generally
Sure.
sends a text message.
Always
so.
messaged me.
But
Yeah.
you didn't
The
say
only
that. You
thing
said
that they
EB,
didn't-
or usually, like you said, EB always texts you, and I'm like, you should have said my EB.
They always do.
Why is this something you have to debate?
Yes,
I'm
EB,
just not
yeah.
debating because
He's in asshole mode tonight,
I've
is
pre-ordered
why.
a lot of stuff, and I haven't got a text message. That's super
Okay.
normal.
I've always gotten text messages.
They do it
Yeah,
manually.
same.
They do it manually.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I did get a text message maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago from my local EB saying, "Hey, there's this T-shirt that you pre-ordered that you didn't pick up," and I'm like, "Oh, cool, no worries, I'll come pick it up." And I'm thinking to myself, "What the fuck? I pre-ordered? Is this a scam?" I pre-ordered it like 8 months ago. Forgot to pick it up, and they held it for me for that long. Which
What?
is nice
Just still
of
for
them.
8 months.
Some like 8 months, yeah. They held
But it
it
must
on.
have just been on the shelf.
No, yeah, she found it in the back, and she's like, "Yeah, I found this in
What?
the back with your name on it and stuff. You obviously never picked it up, so when I can't pick it up, yeah."
That's crazy.
So
Was it one of those EB sale T-shirts?
no, I still have the Sale one.
Sale.
Oh, yeah.
I did
where's my
actually.
Sale
That's
Sale
some
too?
Mario one.
I may not have gotten my Switch OLED Splatoon one, but I did get something else video game related.
Ooh.
Oh yes,
Ooh.
Which is this bottle, which I'm slowly rising. I should probably flip it the other way,
Okay.
actually. Slowly rising,
come on,
which
camera work.
is
Okay, go up.
Valentine's Scotch
Oh,
whiskey
Borderlands one.
Borderlands version from
Oh.
Moxie's
Wow.
Bar. And because
That's so cool.
I never knew this existed, and I saw an article, I think it was on Eurogamer, saying that this had come back in stock and was available for order. So I'm like, oh, that seems like a cool thing to have. So
is
I
really
ordered
cool.
it. So I
Yeah.
ordered it, but I didn't really think it through because if you've ever I've never ever tried to order any kind of alcohol and get it sent to Australia.
Oh,
Yes.
from overseas.
Oh, that's
From
a good point. I never
overseas.
thought of
Oh,
that.
that's a bad idea.
I only do drugs.
Yes.
I've never tried alcohol.
So let's just say this is a pretty expensive bottle of Scotch whiskey when it all adds up, including the tax I had to pay to pick it up from the
How much?
in the country.
It would have doubled the price, right?
Yeah, it was almost double the price.
Wow.
So.
How
But
much?
look, I'm okay with
You're
that.
lucky you didn't get a fine. I think they.
Can you
are
get
meant to
fined for that?
Oh shit, yeah.
If you don't specify it, I
I
suppose.
don't think you're allowed to buy alcohol from overseas in Australia.
I mean, but it's like, why
Okay.
would they have it as an option to ship to Australia if you weren't able to get
Well,
it posted to
because
Australia?
I can go on
Swinny,
any black
fuck-
market and there's an
fuck
option
me.
to ship it to Australia. Doesn't make
I
it
ship
legal.
drugs to
No.
my house.
Yeah.
No, this is like a legit retailer from. I think it's like I forget what
But
it's.
they don't
it's
give a shit if you get
no,
caught.
no, but they wouldn't have the option to ship
Amazon
to Australia
might.
if they couldn't ship to Australia. So
Of
Well, you
course
can
they
ship
can.
anything to Australia. You can ship a dead body to Australia if you want.
no. So
Of
Doesn't
course,
make it
wait, what are you talking about, Swinny? Other
Because-
countries, other people, they don't even. Australia's nothing in the world, right? Like they don't even know Australia.
Hey.
No, because the first time
Be
the
an
first-
asshole, but don't be an asshole to us
no, like
collectively.
if you've ever worked in e-commerce,
We're-
if you have
Australia's
any
awesome.
consumer issues like that.
Yeah.
Where basically it ends up causing you more trouble than it's worth, then you just don't have Australia as a shipping option.
But what
You
are you gonna do,
cannot
sue them?
import alcohol into Australia. You need a license.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I'm like, you're lucky you didn't get a fine, man. You could have easily got a fine, I think,
How would I have got a fine?
because it's dude. If you can't just order anything you want into Australia, right? I don't know why I'm have to explain this. There's like
No,
fruit that
because
you
I-
can't import. There's
What
like
if you never drink it?
But the
Australia's
thing is,
like
why
full on.
like you pay the tax for it, and it's just whatever, man. Like they
Yeah,
wouldn't
clearly,
ship to
if they
Australia
let
if
you
you
pay the
couldn't do
tax,
it.
then it's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say it's fine then.
No, I'm saying like
whatever.
like everything I can read and see, you cannot import alcohol into Australia.
Anyway, as I
enough.
said, like as soon as a retailer gets wind that they can't do that stuff, then they don't have that Australia as a shipping option, man.
That's
like,
why I drink Pisswasser.
I've basically had the similar issues. Like I work in a related industry, and there's just some countries that we just don't ship to because it's like we can't do it. So
Yeah.
anyway, I got my bottle of Ballantine's.
That is
Splendid Scotch
actually really
whiskey,
cool.
So
I
I'm happy
wouldn't
with
open that. I'd be.
And you know, the
keeping
funny
that.
part is, I didn't realize until just before the show that there's a QR code on the back that I'm not going to show in case somebody steals it from me.
Yeah, definitely
Where
don't
you
do
can,
that.
where you can scan it, and apparently you get
Who would do such a thing?
apparently you get like exclusive loot, and I'm assuming it's in Borderlands 3.
What?
It doesn't say Borderlands 3, but it's a QR code to get loot for the game, so that's pretty cool.
Oh.
Too bad I finished the game.
I
already.
wait. Yeah, you finished the game, but are you going to open the bottle? I reckon. Honestly, I don't think I would. I'd keep that. It's a really
Oh,
cool
probably.
collector's item.
I mean, I'm not going to open it anytime soon. That's
Yeah, I
for
wouldn't.
Sure,
Okay.
Unless I was really desperate and it was like an apocalypse.
So I checked it all. You can.
Oh my god,
do
he's
it.
still on about the illegality.
No,
of
because
it.
I was interested if you broke the law or not. You
Who
can.
cares if
It's
you
just
broke
yeah,
the
all
law?
the fees.
We
are
probably
crazy.
shouldn't point out that he did break the law,
There's a
even if he
flat
did break
fee.
the law.
Did you pay a flat fee of $40?
All-
Something like that.
All I
It's
got
crazy.
was like an email and a text message.
Ah, this
from,
is
I
all
think
the
it was-
money. Yeah.
I think it's from DHL. They're like, you need to
US
pay
money.
this.
Wow,
to,
that's crazy.
But I
Try
tell you
to
what,
import
it
alcohol.
arrived. It arrived so quickly. Like I was shocked. I thought it would like take weeks, and it took like less than 2 weeks.
Interesting,
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
pretty good. Like, when I've ordered a lot of stuff recently, it's crazy how fast it comes overseas, even with all
That is
the
actually true. Yeah.
the delays
Yeah.
in general. So, since we're talking about stuff
the
we got,
UK.
this is what I got for Father's Day. One of the things I got for Father's Day.
Live alive, live alive,
Live,
live
Yeah,
live,
alive.
I had to go back on my word and get it because it's like, I
I
feel
heard
like
that's
Very good.
sold 500k already. Copies.
yeah, it's done
so-
well. It's done well. I do like the overall art style. I feel like I still want to support it. Anyway, it's a shameful buy. Well, I didn't buy it. Actually, does it
I was
add
about to
to
say,
the
wasn't
list?
it a gift?
No,
Or
it was
it
a gift. But should it add to the list? I feel like it probably should add to the list. My resolution.
No, I think it's a
Nah,
gift. It's a gift you've been given. It doesn't count.
No, not if. Like if it's a random gift that someone just like, oh hey, I thought you might like this, and you had no idea
the
about
random
it.
gift.
Sure,
Hey, I just
sure.
randomly bought you Live Alive.
Yeah, exactly. I
Live
think
Alive, I
that doesn't
don't even
count.
know
I
how to
think
say
he
it.
needs to add that to the list.
But the
It's a
origin.
you can't get away with that. Then I just asked my girlfriend to buy me all the games.
So
Oh,
for,
here's
okay.
$10. Buy me a game. I didn't take.
No,
free
but
buy, I
that's
cheated.
okay. So
do
also,
that.
by the way, people who are not following,
Yeah.
I've got a resolution which is I have to play and finish or clock. Sorry, God, jeez, what
Clock.
am I saying? My clock to buy ratio needs to be in the positive. I need to clock more games than I buy, right? So it's essentially like me not buying extra games. That's the core of it, not getting extra games. So I don't know. I think in this case it probably doesn't add to the list.
No, that's to the list.
Nah.
Speaking of,
your thing is like where you're bullshitting it, and you're trying to find a loophole in the rule. I'm not trying to find a loophole.
in the
I'm not
rule.
trying to find
I
a
reckon
loophole.
You've been
He
wanting
li-
this
he
game.
asked-
You've
he
asked
asked-
someone about the game
All right,
and how
Mike,
you'd
now-
love to have it for your birthday.
Yeah,
and
you're being
shit.
the asshole.
Yeah,
may as
you're the
well
asshole
bought
now,
it.
Mike.
Yeah, you're the asshole. You're
he
the
asked-
asshole.
Whatever.
He asked a question to us to get our opinion. That's all. Like he's not
Okay,
trying to
well,
find a loophole. It's like
my opinion is loophole. He should still put it on his list.
Loophole.
That's my opinion.
I'll make the final determination
anyone
based on
wants
how
it?
I'm traveling.
Speaking of traveling, let's see how we've been traveling over the last week with the games we've been playing. Integot.
Yes. So
been up to?
I've gone back to play Drill Dozer, and I think I covered it a little bit in last week's show. But just to remind you, Mike, I actually
Yeah,
bought
thanks.
a Rumble,
couple of episodes
a
to
Rumble
remind me.
pack for the Analog Pocket. I don't know if you know about this, Mike.
No.
So there are some games, mostly for the Game Boy Color, that had Rumble, right? Mm-hmm. And what you can actually do with these new open FPGA cores is use even a third-party Rumble pack, and there are certain games that will rumble when you actually play them, including even Game Boy Advance. And I played all the way through Drill Dozer, obviously with a legit copy, but the Rumble was broken in that legit copy, obviously. And now that I have the Rumble pack, I went back to play it, and I mean, it's so cool. Like, it is awesome. So yeah, this is definitely the cheapest way to play Drill Dozer with Rumble, like in a kind of almost original
The cheapest
form
way,
factor.
only $450 Australian if you're lucky.
No,
Plus
that's the
whatever it
Analog
costs you
Pocket.
to get the bloody
Drill Dozer is
Rumble.
like 200, 250 bucks
Plus
or something like
200,
that.
yeah. So that's like about $1,000 to play this game. Cool.
Or you can play Open FPGA and with the Rumble pack. So yeah, shout out to the guy. It's Inside Gadgets if you want to check it out. He's selling these Rumble packs. He's actually in Australia, so it came really quick.
they're repro Rumble packs, just to be clear.
Yeah, reproduction.
Repo.
Well,
Yeah,
Oh, okay, not the.
Yeah.
reproduction. Yeah, whatever. It doesn't make a difference. It's the same thing. He's not trying to
Yeah,
pretend like there's something not.
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
But the other thing that's happening is people are now trying to figure out ways to add Rumble in other games, which I think is like such a really cool ROM hack. And if that happens, that's going to be actually really awesome. Like, I'd love to figure out a way to contribute to that, because it does add to the game. It actually shocked me how much it adds to the game.
It literally shocked you.
Yeah. I just double checked the prices of Drill Dozer. It's like in box, like $730, but
No one's gonna pay that.
yeah, oh,
Besides
dude,
super
it's
rich
crazy how expensive Drill
collectors.
Dozer is.
Like, lots of amiibos.
You're saying no one will play. You clearly don't hear much about game collecting. Then, like,
No,
I'm
that's
not
what I
saying,
said. That's why I added the bit about rich people with lots of spare money
It's
that
not-
collect games.
Well, they collect games. It's not always super rich people though. So, like, there are people that like. I'm saying it's not like people that are millionaires that are doing this stuff. There are average collectors that just
Yeah.
spend every
Just
cent
really
they
love.
get on this stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do that with Hot
360.
Wheels, so.
360 was the last complete in box sale. Speaking of wasting your money, I was actually negotiating about an arcade machine. I'm really I want to get a candy cab. So I'm chatting to like the biggest distributor of arcade machines in Australia about like, do you have any more candy cabs? And they're like, it's so hard to come by them. And they were like going, look, we've got this shitty Korean one. Like, do you want to check it out? I'm like, and it wasn't really good enough. I was like, damn it. So I don't know if I'll ever be able to get this candy cab. But anyway, I'm going to be so sad about it.
You can't make your own somehow? I mean, I know it's not the same, but can you not make your own using a Pi and some hardware together and shebanged and custom
No, but how is he
screen
going to
and-
get like the frame and stuff?
What do you mean you make it?
No, but dude, I
would.
want to I think the thing with you is like I want it to be as like
Authentic as
lagless,
possible.
authentic, like close to
Alright,
when I
fair
was
enough.
a kid going to like playtime, those kind of places.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like,
I just
all-
think it'd be really cool in a way to make it yourself from scratch.
Yeah, I
Like
make other.
literally
I've made
make
other
the
things
templates,
recently,
cut the
but
wood, 3D print shit for it. That kind of stuff would be so cool.
these
Yeah,
candy
I'm with
cabs.
Integot.
Yeah.
I would want to get one that's actually made properly.
Boring.
so.
Also,
I'll make my own. I'll show you guys.
I've made other things recently. I'm happy to make things, but
Like what? 2 kids? What else did you make?
no, there's some stuff outside that I needed to fix. But for this, like, a candy cab has actually got a proper shell to it. It's not just something that you can fabricate yourself. It's actually pretty full on. But anyway, I am in the market for
I
that.
think
so.
Joe will beg to differ. I reckon he could fabricate anything.
Oh, if Joe can fabricate me a Japanese style candy cab,
Yeah,
then go
Mike,
for it.
Have you seen what one of these things looks like? Like
No idea, but I reckon
you
Joe
need
could
to,
do it.
yeah, you need to have
Just talking out of his ass.
access to more than a couple of tools to make one of
Okay,
these.
let me Google
things.
these. Let me Google these. What are they called? Candy
Japanese candy cab arcade.
Japanese arcade.
The other thing is, I've been.
Watch, he's going to be like, no, you can definitely make one.
Oh
of
yeah, of course he is. This is
You
an
can
idiot.
totally make one of these. Not very easily. In fact,
you-
it's extremely hard, but
And-
you can
and
do
also-
one. Maybe.
I want that.
probably not.
I want that right type of monitor as well. That's not a regular monitor. So anyway,
Might be a bit tricky.
the other thing I've been flogging this week, Horizon Forbidden West. I will refrain from commenting too much about it because I'm actually near the end of the game,
Okay.
and I won't go through and
nice,
complete
nice.
everything in the game. It's like not the longest game if you are doing the main story and some stuff around it. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tease for next week, but it's such a difficult game to really explain. I actually, once I finish the game, I'm really keen to go through and watch people's reviews on it that I respect to see where they land on it. I'm so mixed on this game. I'm so mixed on it. I do think you'd really like it, Swinny. I think like all the things I have problems with it, I don't think you would have the same problems, and I think you'd really enjoy this game a lot.
I'm keen to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah. It's I'm so mixed on it, man. I'm near the end of it. I think I'll probably finish it this week. I got Friday off as well, so I might try to finish it by then. And then the last thing is I just wanted to touch on Immortals Phoenix Rising. I had to look down to read what the hell the name is because I always forget it. This was part of Game Pass on PC. Man, this game, like, this game is really a game. If you have too much time to game, is a game that you can play. It is nothing special. It's not offensive or anything like that. Like it seems perfectly fine, perfectly okay. But goddamn, it apes Breath of the Wild so fucking hard. Like I just kept playing
I
it
thought
going.
this was Breath of the Wild when I'm looking at the B-roll.
Well,
I
look,
what the game looks like. But
everyone says that. I don't find the style like the way it looks too
it's
much like Breath of
different,
the
it's
Wild.
different, Yeah.
But the gameplay, like how it feels and stuff, it's like janky Breath of the Wild. And it's kind of embarrassing how shameless it is. Like there's the whole build up of the start of the game is so similar to Breath of the Wild structurally. It's not like the story and everything like that. And the bloody story, you know how you like, I'm not that super into story, right? Like in Horizon Forbidden West, I'm actually just skipping all the story now. I'm just like, whatever, skip.
Oh, this game shit, bro. This game shit. Skip.
But I just don't think the writing's that good in games. But this takes it to another level. This is like, it's so frustrating, the story, and it's so cringy dad joke humor. Like, and it's so, to me, executed so fucking poorly. Like, I honestly, I don't know if I could get through this game because it would piss me off too much if I can't skip all the dialogue.
Are you not the right target audience? Like, what is the target audience for
It's
this
a-
game?
it's like-
is it a younger demographic?
No, I don't think so. I think it's meant to be anyone can play it. Older people are meant to laugh at it. It's like The Simpsons. Oh, I get the adult sense of humor there.
Gotcha.
And it's for kids as well, right? There's nothing specifically offensive about the game, right? I just think it's just so, I know, I feel, I don't feel too bad, you know how I am, but I feel bad for the writer of like the game because it's like, honestly, it's cringy shit, man, for me. Like I found it super cringy, the dialogue. And just some of the stuff that happens in it, I'm like, I'm just like rolling my eyes, like, shut up. Like, let me just skip all this goddamn dialogue. Which, to be fair, it's pretty good at skipping. But yeah, like, it kind of ruins it for me a bit. Like,
Fair enough.
and everything about this game, like, I have to say, it just makes me go, I just want to play Breath of the Wild. Like, I would actually just rather play Breath of the Wild again, even though I've already played it, than playing this game, which is probably not a great, compliment to the game.
Did you notice a pattern with the games you've been playing this week at all?
What?
You didn't notice a pattern? You didn't notice that each of them featured redhead female protagonists?
JoJo does? I don't know if she's a redhead.
Well, it's
Is she
like
a
it's
redhead?
pink, ready pink.
No,
I
she's
think it
pink
counts.
head.
It's close enough. It's a shade of red.
How did you make that connection, Mike? Like, I'm just trying to
I
think.
don't know, I
How
thought it was
did you
pretty
like?
obvious.
Okay.
I
I mean, I
pretty
could
obvious.
see the Mortals Phoenix Rising and Horizon
Yeah.
West, but I do not remember. I was watching that
Jewel
Jill
Dozer
Dozer footage. I do not
she-
recall the color of her hair.
Well,
It
she
wasn't
does have
red. It was
pink hair, that's what I
pinkish,
remember.
but again, it's a shade of. It's like like my cheeks. You know,
I'm not
red
sure if
cheeks.
pink's a shade
it's like
of
pink
red,
cheeks
but-
to red cheeks.
Pink and red aren't the same shade. Like,
Yeah,
aren't the
whatever.
same, But
Clearly, you got a thing.
just on that though, Mike, it's funny. My son has observed that I always play as girls in games.
That's pretty.
Because he
funny.
actually said,
That's
you
pretty
always
funny.
play as a girl. Why do you do that, Dad?
Son, you will
And then I
find
said-
out in 5 years.
And I said, in the metaverse, I can be anyone I want to be, son.
It's who I feel like inside, son. Shut
And I
up.
said, shut up, boy. I did get back to calling him boy all the time after playing God of War. I'd always go, boy, pick this up, boy.
You know what's funny is that like I tend to do that a bit as well, but then if there's a game, that I think there's a chance where I'll have to play online and with other people and stuff. Like, maybe I'll play as a dude. I don't know.
No,
why.
I play as a chick because they
That's what
treat you
I'm like.
nicer.
I'm just thinking ahead
Yeah.
of like, will it be awkward? Or so I just might as well play as a dude. So
So you
play
think
as
it's
a
weird
chick,
if
you
you
always
talk
get
and someone knows that you're a guy when you're
if
playing
it's
as
like,
a girl?
yeah, no, but it's
okay.
like it's just one of those weird things you just make a decision for a reason that's kind of not that logical. You're just like, maybe I'll do that. you
Okay,
know?
that's interesting. I never think of that as a weird thing, I must admit. I never
It's
think
not weird.
yeah.
It's just sometimes you just do that stuff.
Okay. No, I never thought about that. But yeah, no, I always pick the girl. Always, every single time. We'll switch to the girl, whatever it is, if I have the choice. Actually, that's the only way I know that it's annoying to me when I see it and I go, I can't play as a girl. That's annoying. So but Mike, you're playing a very similar game to me in terms of open world games.
Similar, I guess. Horizon kind of reminds me of it. So I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins. So way back to when did this come out, Swinny? 2013.
Can I guess 17?
I'm making
17?
No, way after that. I thought. No,
When was
maybe
it, Swinny?
17. I don't know.
I mean, 17 sounds pretty close. Maybe.
Okay,
18.
17.
Oh, I was
Anyway,
gonna
so-
go crazy because I thought, oh shit, am I right? That's crazy. I am right. Yeah, baby.
Nice, very good. Why do I
Nice.
think it's earlier than that? I don't know. Anyway,
Hey,
so
and you corrected me. You actually like, no.
I thought it was. Anyway, so yeah, I look, it's obviously an older generation game by today's standards, and I could have been playing any of the other Assassin's Creed because I do have them. And if some of you might recall, I do have a resolution to finish one of the Assassin's Creed games by the end of the year.
Oh,
One of the modern
to clock
Assassin's
it.
Creed games.
One of the modern to clock it. That is, this or beyond.
clock it. Yeah.
And somehow I don't know. I had it on PC or something. Or I saw it on PC, so I thought I'll give it a crack on that. Then I realized the save files don't sync between the PC version, even though it's an Xbox. Because it's not a what were you going to say, Swinny?
No, I was just I was going to lead into it's actually not that common for that stuff to happen when the game isn't already Origins wasn't already part of the Windows Store or anything. So they added that in when it came into Game Pass.
Yeah, it makes sense.
There's no, for instance, there's no achievement support for the version on the Windows Store on Game Pass either. So that basically it's not a play anywhere title.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Which it sucks. Don't get me wrong.
Look, it sucks,
There's no
but it wasn't.
safe
I didn't really give a shit. It was more. I got so used to being able to do that, and how awesome it is to be able to just go between platforms seamlessly, that I forgot that you can't do it with every single game. So,
I think it's a really annoying thing, dude. To be honest, because it's
it's annoying, but you can't.
consistency.
But you can't fault it for all the games and stuff. I don't really give a shit.
I do.
But in any case, the reason I found out is because obviously the game's I was quickly trying it, saving it, and I had a completely different save on the Xbox. But on the bright side, I didn't have to start again from the beginning because I had 15 or 16 hours on this game already on the Xbox, which I think I put maybe, I don't know, maybe that amount again over the last 2-3 weeks because it's the only game I've been playing. And I'm not going to go into thoughts. I think people have spoken at length about this game, but I'm really enjoying it. I know integot, you said he didn't. I think he gave it a crack. Was it Origins that he gave a crack, or
I think it was Origins, right,
Odyssey?
Swinny?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
the one set in Egypt? Yeah, I'm
I was
really
just
enjoying
blown
it.
away
I
at
really
the
am.
start and I'll be a bit more PG rated in how I'll say this, but I was playing the game. I'm like, wait, is this I literally thought my version was stuffed up or something, and all the women had lost their tops, or a whole bunch of them. I'm like, is this real? And then I took a video of it and sent it. I think, was it just to you, Swinny?
Yeah, it wasn't
the
me.
group chat.
I don't
I'm
think
like,
I saw it.
is this real? Is this proper? And you're
But
like,
that
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
happen much after that. I've only
really?
sort of seen it maybe once
No,
more
you
after
find
that.
it's because it's a small town. So when you get into the larger areas like Alexandria and stuff, I
didn't
don't
see
think
it,
you
yeah.
see that stuff as
There
well.
was
But don't you think
honest-
that's weird that they start anyway? I
It's
thought that's
maybe
was
just to
odd.
entice people. I don't know, but it took me.
I don't
it
think it's meant
took
for
me just-
Titillation.
titillation. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's not really for that.
But no, it's absolutely not. It's very rare that I've seen that.
Yeah, but
Really,
yeah,
really rare.
I no. So I booted just quickly. I booted it up just to try it out, and I'm like, I know what this game is, and it's just not necessarily. For
Yeah, I
me.
know what you mean. On it, here's the interesting thing. So I'm playing it, and I have that exact same mentality, but at the same time, I'll give them credit. It's a fantastic game. I actually really enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed the mythology behind it. I enjoyed the setting, all of it. I actually really like the gameplay. It's very solid gameplay wise in terms of the different bows you get, different types of weapon, the attacks, the dodging, etc. I had to sort of retrain my brain because I just loaded a save that was 15, 16 hours that I played back in probably 2017. So I was like, okay, well, how the hell do I play this game again after 5 years? But you get used to it super quick. I figured out the controls and everything super quick, figured out sort of the things that I still had to upgrade and all that jazz. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually really enjoy the gameplay. But there is one thing that I keep going back to, and it keeps making me think, man, if it had this one little thing, to me, the experience would just be so much different. And that is a jump button. That is the one thing about this game that just makes me feel it's slightly too gamey, and it's hard to describe the feeling. And it's purely because everything seems to be sort of contextual based on where you are with your characters. You've got all this freedom, but at the same time, the freedom feels somewhat restricted simply because you can't jump whenever you feel like it. And it's really weird, psychologically or something. It just makes it really weird for me, the fact that you don't have that feature in a game like this. Because when you think about a game like Elden Ring, something about that freedom that you get about the ability to jump and stuff just makes the game so much more open in that sense. Skyrim, any of those games. The moment you take that single thing away, something about the mechanics just seems different. So yeah, I don't know.
Have you not played an Assassin's Creed game before, Mike?
No,
None of them have a
I
jump.
played-
None of them have a jump.
No, I know that, but that's what I'm saying. That's why in my head, Assassin's Creed games always felt like I could almost
that's
like
fair
see it
enough,
like the
that's fair enough.
Matrix.
You just felt
and I can
surprised.
see-
You sound
but hang on,
surprised, that's
I'm
all.
not surprised at all. But I'm surprised because I was sitting there trying to think about what makes this game like not 100% click with
Yeah,
the
that's
way
fair enough.
what I enjoy in games. And honestly, like just one quick sec, it's almost like I could see the game as Matrix 3D models, and I could kind of see exactly where like you can have this ledge and this element is grabbable and this isn't, and this is where your character will automatically go, and this is literally the same fucking element but with a different texture to be able to do that transition to jump over things. And that to me just kind of like seems gamey in my head, purely because of the lack of a jump button. It's weird, but anyway, what were you gonna say?
Two things. Like, number one, I feel like this episode's like Battle of the Arseholes, Battle of the Bastards or something. Like, who can be the greatest bastard on the show? Number two, I agree with because this is my criticism of this game and just games like this, and your Horizon's a little bit in the same camp as well, but I
Jump
don't
in that.
I don't think it's the jump, right? But I do understand what you're saying. To me, like a lot of these games to me just feel play tested to death, and you don't have the risk reward factor in the game. It's like when I was playing the opening of Origin, it's sort of like, you know, it feels like I could just mash anything and I'd jump across and make it all across, and I could never actually really like fall. It felt like everything was just like in place to prevent me from failing. So I don't think it's necessarily like the jump itself, because like I think about a game like Dark Souls has no jump really, and I never felt restricted in that game personally.
No, but I agree, but
I don't think the
Dark Souls
jump
also had
is
a
the
different
core
type
driver.
of level design. This is open.
No, correct,
You can
but-
go anywhere, do whatever you want design, and then limiting the player from being able to do such a core thing, like go up.
Yeah,
on a-
no, I
on a
get you,
vertical
but
spot.
you can still climb. Like, I'm not saying like a jump is a bad thing, right? But I still feel like it's more the thing you're drilling into is that everything is. It's not like you actually have freedom in the game. To me, it feels more like you're on rails and you don't even know it. You know, and you're just clicking like to go to the
something
next
like
rail.
that, yeah. Even
As
though
the
it's an open
Assassin's
world.
Creed
Yeah.
expert on this
Yeah,
show,
that's true.
Well, I
I
don't
will
know. Do you
say
know that
that-
much about Assassin's Creed?
oh, maybe a little. And by the way, we'll be talking about Assassin's Creed in the first news story as well.
Okay,
just
cool.
heads
It's
up.
the Assassin's Creed episode.
The-
man. This is no amiibo talk, no analog talk. Jesus.
There are like the complexity in that game. We're not talking just wandering the open world. There are levels and environmental puzzles and everything that require basically like the parkour system is very complex in these games.
Oh,
right?
look, it's amazing.
And
It
I'm
is.
not
It's
saying you
amazing.
couldn't add a manual jump and make it work. It's more that the reason why it's like, for instance, your character almost like gets stuck on stuff and you can't actually force them to fall off is because the complexity ramps up in terms of like the environmental stuff. And these games are designed around that parkour. So it's not like a traditional action adventure where, oh, I'm on a ledge and I'll just fall off. And I can understand, like, it's 100% what you're saying to go is correct, but it's designed that way because the complexity of the environmental, basically navigation, especially later on as you get into like the tombs and the dungeons and like the kind of more later stuff where you're actually doing a lot more fancy techniques and stuff. That's why it's built that way. And it's always been like that so that, for instance, like these more recent Assassin's Creed games, you can climb on anything, whereas that never used to be the case. It was only really, I think it was Black
I do
Flag
remember, yeah.
onwards, where they made it so you can climb basically almost every surface, every wall. Whereas before it was very
everything
clear.
you can climb in this. Yeah.
So, like,
cool.
ultimately, like what you're both saying is correct, but the game is designed to really kind of be that parkour showcase.
I actually was thinking about that as well. I'm like, wow, if you did have a manual jump button, a bunch of these things just wouldn't work as well. So I can kind of see how the developers
It'd be
had
even
to
more
go.
janky than it already
It'd be
is.
probably more janky, yeah. And even so, there were a few little bugs here and there that I encountered in the game that I thought would be perfectly patched by now. But anyway, short of it is, I actually really enjoy it, and I've been drawn to it and wanting to go back and play it some more here and there whenever I get time. And I have a feeling maybe I'll finish it, which will be awesome. So, Swinny, what about you?
Yeah, so I've been playing a lot of shit this week. I actually completed a lot of games. I went back to a bunch of games as well. So one of the games that I kind of put on the table and came back to and finished this week was The Gunk. So I finished off The Gunk, which was the the first 3D game from Image and Form, who are now known as Thunderful Games, I think, the SteamWorld developers. And the gunk is really, really fun. Like, it's not a game that's going to, like, blow everybody away, but it's a nice little action adventure puzzle kind of platformer game that, you can beat in maybe 5 hours or something. It's not super long, maybe even less than that. So that was fun to go back to. The bunch of other stuff, I'll mention that in a second. Kind of got a bit of a challenge for you guys around that because they're all games that have very generic titles that I completed. But the one that I wanted to talk a little bit more about was a game I completed last week, but we didn't have a chance to cover. It was Nobody Saves the World. So Nobody Saves the World I talked a bit about on the show when I kind of tried it out as part of my Game Pass resolution, but I always plan to go back to it. So I did, and it took me about 25 hours to 100% the game. It's not a short game. But look, Nobody Saves the World is really, really cool. It's from the same developers as Guacamelee and Guacamelee 2. And it's a really cool mix of like a Zelda with, some roguelike elements in terms of procedural dungeons and stuff, but the overworld is very Zelda-ish, and it's almost got some, I know Zelda's kind of steeped in this already, but some Metroidvania elements, which makes sense because Guacamelee was Metroidvania as well. So it's kind of got that flow of the game design where you're unlocking new areas and stuff, but again, that's almost Zelda as well. But yeah, Nobody Saves the World, cool little top-down game where you're changing forms all the time, but the whole thing about completing missions for every form you've got is built into the whole design, and it's really unique. Like, I don't think I've played another game where it's basically the little mini missions for each form you have is basically the point of the game and the way you progress through the game, because everything you do basically gives you experience towards your main character and the forms as well. But yeah, really, really, really neat. The one thing I'll say about it is that it feels like they could have made the game even shorter because it does feel a bit long in the tooth. Like, you get a little sick of the process or the cycle, after probably after 15 hours. I'm like, look, I'm going to 100% this, but I feel like I probably could have been done now and still be happy. So yeah.
When you say that a game's too long, man, it makes me go, fuck, that game must be way too long. Like,
well,
it's probably double the length that I'd be
wow.
happy with.
There's also, because like when you're going for 100% in that game, I think if you were just going for just the story completion, it would be a better game experience.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you're playing the game to make it work.
No, well, I'm 100%ing these games. So, it is what it is.
Oh, yeah. So it's about 15 hours main story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Even then, I feel like games... Yeah, I've said it a million times, games are too long. Like, a small game like this, I'd want this to be like 5 to 10 hours. That's what I really liked about Stray, to be honest. But
Yeah, I think this game... Like, remember, it is an RPG, and it's an action RPG. So, like, those games are generally longer than your average games, just
true.
by design. But anyway.
I guess 15 is about the same kind of length that maybe Link to the Past is, so...
All right, so what I thought I'd do, this is my Explain the Game challenge. So I completed 3 games, and I thought I'd give you guys the title, and you basically got to explain what the game is, and hopefully you guys don't know what these games are. They're pretty obscure. And then whoever I think... Well, actually, I'll start off with 2, and if you guys need a tiebreaker, then I'll do the third one. So the first title, well, basically, you guys clear on the thing?
Not really,
can explain what the game is?
No, but
Well, it is what it
crack.
is. So just whatever. We'll go with the flow.
Yeah, just go with it.
All right. So I completed a game, and I'll make Mike go first because I know you'll just wait. If you copy
I'm too
him,
slow.
you and your game
My brain's
theory.
too slow, but okay.
Why can't we spin a wheel or something like that?
Why shouldn't
Make it
Integot go
fair.
first? So
No,
you can't
actually, I
copy
meant
me?
Integot. Sorry, I meant Integot. Go first.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Why am I
You
going
go
first?
first, Integot. You go first.
Why am I going first?
Because you always copy.
Yeah. Anyway, the first game I
Don't
completed...
Google it. He's trying to Google it. He's getting ready to Google it.
I'm not Googling it. I'll never do that. I'm not a cheater.
Look at him.
Yeah, I'm... The assumption is you guys would not ruin
No,
this.
and my head's
Hey,
in there. I'm not
I
Googling
take
anything.
immense offense at the thought that I would cheat at anything. I wouldn't win.
Well, that's why I did not assume.
My hands
All
are
right.
up in the air. Go on.
So the first game is called Royal Frontier.
All right. So are we gonna decide who's going first?
Integot, you go first.
No. We're not gonna do that. How do I turn this off? All right.
What?
Let's spin the wheel. Whoever goes.
So,
Wow, okay. All right.
Oh, fuck me.
Oh, Integot is going
It's me.
Okay, fair enough. Go Integot.
I love that
Game
little
about-
confetti burst.
Oh, all right. Say it again because I wasn't listening.
Royal Frontier. What kind of game it is
Okay.
in one sentence?
It's an
You give me-
RPG about a knight.
Integot is going first.
That's okay. I already know what the
awesome.
game is about. So
Do you know what it is?
no, I don't know what it is, but I know what.
Oh
I
my
think
god,
it's
guys!
about.
All right, Integot.
No, but like if you know the game, we need to pick
I
a different game.
don't know
He
the
doesn't
game. I don't
know.
know
He
the
doesn't
game.
know.
Okay. Royal Frontier. So what am I gonna do? Like describe what the game is?
Just give me a brief description of what you think the game is. That's all.
RPG. High fantasy. It's set in the Wild West.
Okay,
Okay.
Mike,
You
have
can't
that?
copy me.
I think it's an RPG.
No, you can't. You can't copy
Well,
me.
yes, I can. I can copy
That's
that part because I said
bullshit.
it.
No, he can.
About a knight.
Fine.
About a knight who's going through the bushland of His Royal Majesty to get to Castle Clit.
All right, I'm going to cancel this segment right here and now.
Why did you
So-
say that?
Because the frontier is actually
Oh my.
is bush. You know what I mean? Bush.
All right, it's going worse to worse, Mike. All right.
Okay, what's the second
I
game?
was going to give it to you, Mike, because it is closer, but now you're
How is that
disqualified.
How is
So
that
Integot gets
closer?
the first one.
How can that be closer?
Because it's not set in the Wild West, and it is basically you traveling through a forest area. Basically, it's a little roguelite kind
I
of
won.
almost,
I won.
almost a myth. Imagine like Oregon Trail roguelite kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
all right.
turn-based RPG.
1
All
point
right.
to me, 0
point to
points to you.
Integot.
What a rip! Just because I included. A
Well,
Queen's
now you know
bush
what
in
not
it.
to do it. All right, the next one is.
I was actually legit shocked that you said that.
Are you gonna spin the wheel again, Integot?
No, because Mike goes. So I'm 1
No,
point,
you can go. It's fine.
and then you're 0.
All right,
This is very important for the
put
people who
anything
don't
next to
understand.
Mike, you're going first.
Okay.
Keep it clean. The
Okay,
game
keep it
that I
clean.
completed this week, the other game, is called Monster Harvest.
Monster
Oh, I feel like I
Harvest.
should know this game. I've heard of this game.
Okay.
Big 0 on your face. I've got AI tracking.
Mike?
I've installed AI tracking.
Mike, listeners are waiting.
Oh yeah, sorry, listeners. So, Monster Harvest. Okay, it's a game where you're a vampire hunter and you are harvesting the organs of different monsters because you're a part-time doctor who's trying to find a cure for this disease that your daughter's experiencing. But it turns out it's just syphilis, which you gave her.
All right,
What?
Integot.
Your daughter, and you gave her
All right,
syphilis.
all right. I say keep it clean, Mike. Sorry, Integot.
Keep it
Integot.
clean. That's like the least.
The
clean.
game title is Monster Harvest. Integot, what do you
I'm
think?
gonna
it is?
say it's like a Harvest Moon type game with monsters.
Bang on.
Yay!
It's
Good
basically
guess.
Stardew
guess.
meets Pokemon. So
There you go.
I reckon I have seen that actually.
I am
Integot
the
is
winner.
the winner.
I'm the
Well
winner.
done. Well done.
Winner.
So yeah,
Very
I
good,
beat
very
those two
good.
games. They're both
That was
pretty
really
shit.
cool. I love that. Even though I got completely ripped
cool.
in the first one. It should have been 1-1. but
Yeah,
whatever.
that wasn't an own goal or anything.
I'm not a
like
solid
that.
loser. I don't give a
Just,
shit.
just be glad you didn't get the third game, which was called Quest Hunter, because that is the most generic name you could possibly give a game.
That looks kind of amazing, actually. All right, where are we up to?
All
So
right,
well,
I think we
that's-
can move on
that's
to
what I've
the
been-
first game.
Yeah, well, that's what I've been playing this week, but I have actually spent more time in the game we're doing as a little special feature on now.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. Special features. So, Swinny has been playing a game that we kind of segued. Hey, get.
All right, I'll just lead
rid of
into
that.
it. I'll lead into it.
Just tell us, Swinny.
I've been playing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R. Now, this is a new release that came out on the 2nd of September. It's a game I've been talking about for a while on the show. They announced it back, I think it was in a state of play, and it is a remaster, and they've added a lot to it of a PlayStation 3 game that was only ever out on PlayStation 3. Sorry, my notes are gone. Where are my notes? And now it's on everything, and it's massively upgraded in terms of it's running at 60 frames per second on everything but Switch. Poor Switch is running at 30 frames for this game. But yeah, basically don't really think of this as in-depth impressions because I haven't spent as much time as I'd like to in the game, and because of the nature of fighting games, like how you approach the game, like I basically have spent most of my time just in practice mode in this game, just learning the characters because there's 50 bloody characters in this game.
Whoa.
And they all play
Damn.
very differently from each other. There's a couple that play similar because they're like different versions of a character, like a future version and stuff. But they're all got very unique mechanics. For instance, one character, when you get max out the super meter, you will trigger like their ultimate life form version. That means that they're in a completely different move set for the rest of that round. And that's the only character I can see in the game that has that kind of mechanic. So it's almost like, Smash Brothers, the DLC fighters, they add a lot of unique mechanics that are only for that. So it's kind of like that for a lot of this in this game. So especially the new characters added. So they did add a bunch into this new version. But look, it's been an awesome week to be a JoJo fan. So that we had
Awesome week if you're a PETA fan. You know, the animal people. He just beat up a bloody bird.
Pet Shop. Yeah, Pet Shop. So I've sometimes your jokes, Mike, I'm just like, where are you going?
Also, it's like I need a dump button where we can just press it like, all right, kill the stream.
And now he's hitting a
actually goes
horse.
live.
There you go, Mike.
I'm gonna put a
And now
minute
they're
delay on
killing
this
a
bloody
horse. Oh my
stream.
god.
So basically, they dropped the second batch of so part 6 is currently being adapted and aired on Netflix. So they dropped the second batch of the Stone Ocean anime this week and the game. So it's a massive week for JoJo fans. But the interesting thing for this game is I've always heard about how it's a great love letter to the JoJo series and everything because it's a big crossover with all the different characters and different parts and everything. Anyone doesn't know, each part has a different protagonist and set of characters, and there is some crossover and stuff. But I had never heard that it was an amazing game as a fighting game. So I really want to find out, is this just for JoJo fans or is it for fighting game fans? And honestly, my early time of the game, it's not an amazing fighting game so far. There are people that do say this is a cool game, and I've seen some high-level play and people playing where you can do some crazy combos. But initially, I did start to click with it more, but initially it felt like the characters felt very like movement was very sticky, if that makes sense. It's like you dash forward and then your character stops and moves really slow, and it just didn't feel as smooth as other fighting games that I've been used to. I'm not a huge fighting game person. I love fighting games, but don't get me wrong, I'm not like, playing fighting games every week and stuff. But I love my Tekken and I love my Street Fighter and stuff. But that feeling did get better, and I think that once you start to understand the mechanics, and that's the reason why I had to spend a lot of time in practice mode, there's just lots of mechanics that I just couldn't get to grips with in the game. But it is getting better, and as I said, I'm still pretty early on. I think, look, I've got who I'd recommend this game to is I've broken it down to 4 things, right? If you're a JoJo fan and like fighting games, this is a no-brainer, I think, right? If you're a JoJo fan and you're so in fighting games, wait till this goes on special because it's a great game for a JoJo fan. If you a fan of JoJo and you hate fighting games, then just go check out the compilations on YouTube that are already up of the characters and because the cool part about this is you've got characters that would never interact ever in the series, talking to each other and doing one-liners and stuff. It's almost like Mortal Kombat. You've got those cool intro lines. If you're not a JoJo fan, don't bother. That's basically the 4th one. Like, this is a game for JoJo fans. From what I've played, there's so many top-notch quality fighting games out there that if you're looking for that experience, and if you're looking for any kind of online play, this game is not it because it doesn't have rollback netcode. The servers, for instance, Xbox servers were scuffed on launch as well. Not that, obviously that's not everybody playing that, but so I think, if JoJo fans will love it, fighting game fans, not so much. So
I loved your statement. It was very Donald Rumsfeld-esque. It's like, if you're a JoJo fan, if you're not a JoJo fan, if you're thinking about being a JoJo fan.
I thought it was a Descartes kind of philosophical one where if you believe in God or if you don't, and what are the different options, if you do and if you don't, if there is one, if there isn't, blah, 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 like all the permutations and combinations.
I will be playing this more, so I'll probably, after I spend a lot more time, I'll give some, better impressions later down the line. Not as a segment, just as an ongoing thing. So
Nice.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Very good. Cool. All right. So after months of rumors and reports, the next Assassin's Creed game has finally been officially announced by Ubisoft. Reports have been circulating for months from outlets like Bloomberg that a title was in the works called Assassin's Creed Rift. Do we have a bit of B-roll, boys? Starring everyone's favorite hidden one.
Hey, let me be the executive producer.
Well, come on, bro. Hit me with that B-roll. Come on.
You idiot, because you're about to read out something that's connected to the B-roll. That's
Starring
why I waited.
everyone's favorite hidden one from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Basim.
See, this is Basim. This is why I was waiting.
Basim, all right. Oh, I thought this was Dane Camp. All right.
Shut your pretty mouth and host the damn show.
Well,
Let the producer produce.
thank you for calling my mouth pretty. So this is in addition to the live service Assassin's Creed Infinity title already in development. Now, Rift was apparently originally planned as a DLC expansion for Valhalla, like the recent Dawn of Ragnarok. The game was spun off into its own thing and became more of a traditional Assassin's Creed title. I don't know how to pronounce the next word, but I'm going to have a crack at it. Eschewing many of the open world RPG elements of the previous 3 games. Why did you have to put a word in there that I don't know how to pronounce?
I kind of assumed you'd throw to me on this one. That's why I wrote it like
yeah, that's
I
what I
would
was
speak
waiting.
it.
Over to you from now on.
So thank you. No, you've read that fine. That's all good. You said it better than I said perturbed earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, look,
Perturbed.
more recent reports on this indicated the game's now known as Assassin's Creed Mirage and would be set in Baghdad, following the life of Basim, as we said, but like before the events of Valhalla. So I think a lot of the early reports that I read, we didn't know where that was taking place because that makes a huge difference on what the tone and the story of the game will be. Yeah, like I can't get into spoilers for anyone that hasn't played Valhalla, but he's a very important character to that story. And development's been handled by Ubisoft's Bordeaux studio. So now we jump forward to this week, and leaks of the game's artwork and logo and some DLC quests and stuff like that started surfacing that were pulled from the Ubisoft store, and it pretty much forced Ubisoft's their hand to announce the game. So they had seemingly, unless they kind of had already had this leak as part of their whatever guerrilla marketing thing, they have a Ubisoft Forward event on the 10th of September, so next weekend. So that was going to be their reveal of this game, and it still will be the reveal of this game. But yeah, so
Re-reveal.
Announcement reveal to me are kind of two different things. Like a reveal isn't the game is happening.
Yeah, I guess.
Yep. This is what the game is. This
That's
is
an
the
announcement,
trailer.
and this is a reveal. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. You're wrong, Mike. Everyone's being an
I
asshole
usually
on the show tonight. I love it.
So yeah, next Assassin's Creed.
And as the resident Assassin's Creed mega fan, worldwide mega fan.
Yes, who did the internet's most hated Assassin's Creed tier list.
Is it the most hated? Well, we can't tell anymore because we can't see the ratios anymore.
Look, I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And there we go.
just
That lost all the viewers. That lost all the viewers from this clip.
He's gone in, no lube, just some raw dog.
Heel turn.
It is like, Odyssey's the best, fuck you all, cunts.
But from the sounds of it, that was really rough. From the sounds of it, this will be the game that people didn't like Odyssey. This sounds like
Probably
it
not.
might be the game for them.
How so? In what way?
Well, he said it eschews many of the open
I don't know what that word
elements.
means.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Basically, it sounds like it will be getting rid of some of those elements and taking it closer back to basics. Now, we don't know what that means exactly. We'll see. It will probably still look like it's Valhalla in some ways, but it will probably might get rid of, for instance, the massive skill tree. It might get rid of sounds
the
like
RPG elements.
Well,
RPG weapon elements.
Well, things like
randomly
player the player choice stuff, which a lot of that was very surface level anyway, where you actually get dialogue choices and things like that. It sounds like it might not have those kind of elements.
See, I'm playing Origins at the moment, and there's no dialogue choices in that.
Yeah, they added that in Odyssey. So
cool. Okay.
But basically, it sounds like it's a bit more of a return to a traditional version, and that is I'm all for that in the sense that I like variety in these games, and I love those older games. I love the newer games, but you know, I'm happy to play something that is different than Valhalla and the recent games because it will just give me a fresher experience. And Basim is an awesome character, and I'm really happy to see what they do with the story and like talking about his life leading up to the events of Valhalla because yeah, it could be really really cool. So.
Now, one thing I have to say is I would recommend people to take caution whenever Ubisoft says anything. So I'll just quote, FYI, it won't be the longest or biggest game in the series. They've addressed the criticism on this one. And that's referring to Valhalla, which was by Ubisoft. They kept saying leading up to it, it's going to be a shorter game. Like we've acknowledged that the games are getting too long. And then if you go on how long to beat, it's the longest game, right? So,
oh yeah, no, they completely failed at that statement.
Yeah.
I definitely have a feeling it will be shorter, but not. Some people are like, oh, 15, 20 hours. No, it's not going to be 15, 20
No.
hours. That's ridiculous. It's going to be like 30 to 40, I think.
I mean, but dude, it might just
do
be
the main
the same.
part.
Might be the same length as like Odyssey or something, right? Like, so you could legitimately say it's shorter than Valhalla.
The scope of the game seems very different. So I think they are going for something different here.
That'd be good.
But you know, Origins is an interesting one because it's the first time that I played one of those games where I really didn't give a shit about the markers on the map. I played it and I only went to do side missions if I was under leveled or something. Because I know what the formula is like. Go fetch this, go kill this, go do that. I don't really give a shit. Although some of the side stuff was actually quite interesting. But there was an element of finally I can
It sounds like, why are you even playing any of these games? Go find shit, go kill something.
No. So like, I finally got to just play the main quest mostly.
Yeah.
As in, whenever I had the opportunity, I just continued the main quest. And I had actually, the story also made most sense as opposed to being distracted by all the side stuff. But they made it in such a way that, at least in in Origins, and I assume maybe the other ones are the same, because of the level cap, not the level caps, but the level
Suggestions
in certain areas and certain quests that require a certain level. It kind of does force you here and there to go do some side stuff, which I actually don't mind.
Well,
it makes things a bit more interesting, and it worked out really well.
I've talked about it on the show, but Valhalla changed a lot of that. Valhalla is still a massive game and overwhelmingly big, but it doesn't, the way that it's not like, oh, there's a fort here, take down the fort. It's kind of like they have side quests, but they're more like little story event things that take place in the same area. The thing is with that game, the main campaign is just long.
way too long.
It is really long. Like, it's so much so you're like, oh my god, there's a whole nother part here. And I had fun, but it's still, like, for the average person, massively long.
So what are your hopes and dreams for this, Swinny, as the AC mega fan, the Ass Creed fan?
I really hope that they bring in some elements from the early games, like the actual
assassinating people. Yeah.
No. I mean, that's all. That's in all these games. I'm talking the assassin's crew that you can have, that you basically can call on to take someone down. They added that in Brotherhood. I hope that they have things like, you know, like the shop again, like from Brotherhood, that shops that you can buy and then it makes you money over time. Like, I want them to bring in some of those older elements, but modernize them a bit, and I think it would add some really cool stuff. And just a neat story. I think is what I really want from this game. So.
How about length? What kind of length are you into?
That is a loaded question. No, I'm happy if this game is 30, 40 hours. That seems spot on for me. So
completion or just main?
Inches.
I don't know. Like, to me, it's one and the same. Like, I do everything in these games at the same time. So
you do it all.
It always
You're versatile.
It always conflates my impression of what how long the game takes to complete, because I do everything anyway. So yeah.
And also, like, sorry, did we put it in that it's going to come out supposedly springtime 2023? I guess it's still rumorville.
Yeah, well, that was the rumors. I didn't put it in there just because I forgot. So
2020. So what?
like,
early
there's
next
something I
year.
missed there.
God,
I got to remember winter, spring, so that's
yeah,
like
it's early
after
next
summer.
year.
Yeah, okay. Before.
Lucky my head still thinks Europe, so it's really easy for me
does
to
it?
translate.
Okay, shit.
Anyway,
Dude, even to this day, I still think December is fucking cold, even though it's not. It's the opposite.
Anyway, next week we will have more details when they officially reveal it at the Ubisoft Forward.
Yeah, no, it'll be really exciting. Is that going to be in time for the show? Just is, right?
Yeah, just in time for the show.
because it's 10th over there, right? So
Yeah, so it'll be on like Sunday.
Sunday
early
in
Sunday
the
or something,
morning.
yeah.
So we'll
Yeah.
have to write our notes up then. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else get like rumored for the Ubisoft event? I know most things leak for it, so
I don't know, to be honest. I
Okay.
really do. Because honestly, like, I'm not hugely interested in the rest of Ubisoft's catalog. So,
as the
will
big
never
Ubisoft
happen.
fan,
It never happened, but give us a Child of Light too. There you go.
Skull and Bones is coming out shortly. That's like around. Is it on the same day as God of War Ragnarok? It's so bad.
I think it might be
They'll
like the
do
day
well.
before or something.
Oh, it's just, and it's a paid game. Not maybe they're gonna announce it's gonna be free. Like I think it's dead in the water if it's not. The other one is Mario Rabbids too, so maybe they'll have some more stuff about that, which I'll be pretty hyped about. Because I think there would be DLC, but maybe they'll announce that afterwards. So, all right, that's cool. Nice.
Awesome. So the troubles for Halo Infinite roll on, as 343 Industries have announced they will no longer be adding local split-screen co-op of the game's campaign. Swinny, integot, both of you are huge, long-time co-op Halo fans. Tell us more about this.
Huge fans.
Huge fans.
We dabbled in it.
Yeah, we dabbled. Look, like I wanted to put this in because did you guys end up watching this 30-minute update?
Nope.
Okay. I gotta say, man, has anyone mismanaged their core IP as hard and bad as Microsoft?
Ooh, with Halo. I was thinking
I'm
about
really
this as
trying to.
well.
I was
Probably-
Yeah.
trying to think about
Maybe.
it, man.
I mean, if you count Sonic, that
Yeah.
maybe.
No,
But
I
but if
count.
you're talking like big, like, big players these days, and no
but
one's mismanaged Halo more than
I would say
343.
count Sonic. They like, the movies are kicking goals. Like my kids actually tease me and they go they like Sonic more than Mario, the bastards.
I'm talking the history of Sonic.
Yeah.
Like, Halo's never had a Sonic 2006, but
Well, yeah.
this yeah. Let's
close.
actually provide some
close.
information about this before we give too much. So
Would you want to go?
I'll do it again. All right. So the news was shared as part of that update, this video you said, discussing Halo Infinite's roadmap. So they say local co-op was cancelled, and they say in order to improve and accelerate ongoing live service development and to better address player feedback and quality of life updates. Right. Now, local co-op has been a really traditional, long-running feature for the Halo series. Only Halo 5 didn't have co-op, at least in the main Halo game, local co-op in the main Halo games. But they said, we're bringing it back, and everyone was super happy. Now, I think a lot of people, look, let's be real, a lot of people will probably play co-op online anyway, but I think
of course.
I think it's the fact that they promised this as well. They promised it and they've cancelled it, and there are people that were waiting for this, and now they're like, well, now we can't play it, like we used to play the old Halo games, and it absolutely sucks, man. It really, really sucks.
Oh, and dude, like, by the way, like, I genuinely was looking forward to the online co-op because in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, maybe Swinny and I will go play the online co-op, maybe after playing It Takes Two. But
Well, that's still coming, to be clear. It's just delayed.
No, but can I just say that's meant to be August. So I assumed because it went into August. Remember, I was talking about it a few weeks ago on the show. I'm like, when's it coming out? Is it coming out later in the month? Because they hadn't said anything about it.
Well,
then they had this update, and they're like, "Oh, the online campaign, the co-op campaign, is actually going to be November." I'm like, "What the fuck, man?"
Well, now that we're covering let's cover the other stuff then. I thought we were talking about local. So basically,
Well, I want to get back to local as well.
yeah. So they also announced a whole bunch of other disappointing things and delays around their features. So the online co-op, as you said, is pushed back to November, originally in August. Forge mode, which was already going to be in open beta, will arrive in November, pushed back from September. And Season 3, the battle passes and all that content stuff has also been delayed. I'm not sure the original update release period of that, but that's delayed to March. So basically, I'm sure there were positive things in that video that I didn't watch. I'm being honest, I'm just kind of pulling out the notable stuff from this for me. I'm sure there's positive news in there, but this is a whole load of bloody disappointing news for Halo fans in one go. what the fuck are they doing, man?
Look, like,
They get rid of a lot of people or something. Well,
all right, like, because I'm probably closer to it because I actually like Halo a lot, but yeah, I don't. So Joseph Staten is basically the head honcho at on point for Halo. There's other people who are on point for the multiplayer, like live service element of it, etc. But just off the bat, I mean, he came in very late in the piece, and I've actually read and listened to a lot of interviews with him. So like when he came in, he was like, okay, they did an assessment, and he's like, went back to management. So, you know, Phil Spencer, all the management team there, and he's like, look guys, like this is not coming out like when the Xbox launches. I'm telling you that right now. Number one. Number two, we're gonna have to like cut so much stuff out of the game because to polish all that stuff, it's going to take like 4 years, right? So it's like, we're going to cut all this game back, rejig a whole bunch of it, because it was all meant to be open world. The whole game was meant to be open world. And that's kind of how it was structured, but it just was so like, it wasn't polished, right? And, you know,
even the end result was not polished. in my
that's the
opinion.
thing.
It
This
just
is the
felt
thing,
so
right?
Bland.
And I don't necessarily blame him so much because it was so late in the piece that he joined. Like joining a project when it's like 6 months to launch, you can't really blame that person too much because these are a 5-year development thing normally. But goddamn, this game has been, and the Halo franchise has been completely mismanaged by 343, right? Like ever since they launched the Master Chief Collection, which was a disaster, unmitigated disaster, like way worse than Cyberpunk 2077 levels. They should have like either been like taken off the Halo franchise completely by Microsoft, or Microsoft needed to intervene properly into the studio. And to me, quite honestly, like I feel like they need to make a drastic change with Halo, with like what's going on. Because I honestly, my opinion is they should just like forget about even like, and this is even crazy to say, but they should just forget about online co-op, Forge mode, like try to get the online game working well, and then just say to everyone like, we fucked it up and we're moving on to the next game and we will make it right with the next game. Because this game is just, it's kind of going to be in no man's land, man. Like even if they improve all of this stuff, it was literally meant to come out in like what, 2020, like the end of 2020. And they won't even have all the full features by the end of basically now 2022. And they rolled out the game in the weirdest way with like online multiplayer, then the single player campaign, promising they're going to have co-op, then ditching local co-op, then bringing online co-op, and then delaying the online co-op and not having Forge mode. It's all this stuff that like Swinny, like we had in like Halo 3 in 2007. Imagine if all that was stretched out over 2 years. You'd be like, no, sorry.
When it comes to the campaign, obviously the campaign was a very different style than the other earlier Halo games. But when it comes to like the Forge mode, and I know it's way more advanced than what it was, let's say in Halo 3, but that stuff was there at launch. Forge
Correct.
mode, you know,
Correct.
it's and obviously the co-op stuff. But I understand with co-op when we're talking that more open world is more advanced than the level system of the other Halo games, but like just man, like the co-op in Halo campaigns was like the way to play Halo campaigns.
Exactly.
And they absolutely shit the bed with this. They really did.
And remember when it was leading up, I was like, I don't want to play it by myself, single player. I want to play co-op. And then they sort of like very last minute announced, oh no, the co-op is going to be delayed and separated. I'm like, what? Like I know it's like, I don't normally do this, but I also genuinely don't understand how it's so hard to have online co-op. Like, why is this like such an impossible thing to build? Like, it seems like they did not build it with it in mind.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It has to be something to do with the way they structured the games,
Yeah.
like open areas. The question: was Infinite? Was that last December or last November or something? Was it? Has it? So is this going to be a year
Yeah.
to add in online co-op?
Yeah.
How?
It was November. Remember, because I predicted for the Halo 20th anniversary, they'll release like the online multiplayer. They'll split it out. It's exactly what they did, right? So it was meant to come out November with the launch of the Xbox Series X, November 2020. It launched like, I think a year later, the game, like the multiplayer game. And I think it was December when the single player campaign came out. And now like, the co-op is going to be November. And then who knows if they're going to hit November. I mean, like,
Well,
the way
yeah.
they've been hitting these dates, it might not be November. And I am working on a pretty big project myself. Like, once you get close to November and it starts to creep into, hey, you could be going over the Christmas period, and that could push it all, all the way back out to like January and February after that. So, like honestly, do you think it's crazy what I'm saying, Swinny? Like, basically, look, this is a clusterfuck at this point. Let's cut our losses.
They need online co-op in this game.
You reckon?
Because
They just can't
because
do
there's
it?
a lot of paying customers that
Well-
more so than the local. Like they need a form of co-op in this game because
It would have been so good to have it. I collected by myself, but man,
like
it would've been
that
better
is
with
like
two.
that local like split screen. That's a massive loss. But online co-op, they need that in this game. They do.
Well, I'll say it like this then. If you have that view, I think by that logic, they've made a really massive error cutting local co-op, right? I think the view is either we have to prove that we can live to our commitments. So, we're doing local co-op, but we are pushing it out, right? And it's going to come next year, right? Like, I think that's different than saying it's cut completely. Yeah. I just think like you either are cutting and really going, okay, look, like, because to me, it's like, what's the point of cutting it? Why are you cutting it? Right?
Maybe they just couldn't get it to technically
Of course they can.
work.
They can get it to work. It's just going to take
don't
time.
know.
Anything's possible, right? It's not like the first time they've ever done split screen co-op. So
But that's what I'm saying. Like maybe they just couldn't get it to work with this new version of Halo, this new design of Halo, in a way that actually made it like work. But look, all I'm saying with online co-op, I'd love to see what the numbers are, but like the percentage of people that play this online co-op versus local was be immeasurably larger.
Oh, of course.
Now
Probably
with
that's
COVID and stuff, and they did
that's
their
why they
maths
need
and
it. That's why they need it.
but don't promise it, right? Like I totally agree with what you're saying. It's probably like 3% of people play a local split screen versus not. Because I can even see the analog with Rocket League. Because when you play Rocket League, you can tell if someone's playing split screen because it actually has like the name and then it will have like the name and then brackets 1, and it's just really clear that it's a split screen player. And that would be like 1 in every 50 games or 70 games that I'd see someone with local co-op. Yeah. So yeah, I know I'm not saying it's like not hardly anyone's playing. Of course, like hardly anyone's playing, but don't promise it. It's like it's just playing into the narrative again that these guys can't deliver. And I genuinely think that Halo could be massive. Like again. And it's not. It's kind of becoming irrelevant, honestly, for Microsoft.
There was a moment around launch that it felt like it was there was.
It had an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was hype there. Like,
Yeah.
like it felt like a return of the Halo, like being popular with the mainstream again. Halo's always a big seller. Don't get me wrong, but like, it felt like a return to form, and then all this stuff just started happening that. And like we know communities always like complain about legitimate things, but also complain about small things. But the amount of like unhappy people, the way that they'd locked the content behind with the new free to play stuff, and it just felt like a miss there. But
it was a total miss. Like just to wrap it up from my end at least, like I was playing Splitgate, which I think is an awesome game, highly recommended to people who want to play something like a Halo game. Super awesome game. I was really hyped about Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Like I was really going to be like, okay, I could buy into this like Rocket League levels because I loved playing Halo 3 back in the day. And, Battlefield was a disaster when it launched. Call of Duty was a disaster. It was perfect timing for Halo to do well. And that game was it's still buggy as hell. Nothing's introduced. Like the game modes are like so basic. Like Halo 3 just embarrasses it in terms of like the stuff you can do compared to the online version of Halo Infinite. It's super disappointing. Like, but I guess, hey, 5 years time from now, maybe there's going to be a new Halo game and we're going to go through this whole song and dance again, getting hyped about it and getting excited about it, Mike.
Perhaps. All right, over to our next piece of news. Praise the funds. FromSoftware's parent company, Kodokawa Corporation, has announced that it is selling a big chunk of shares to Sony Interactive Entertainment and Tencent subsidiary 6Joy Hong Kong. Once the shares have been issued, Sony will own 14.09% of FromSoftware, while 6Joe will own 16.25%, with Kadokawa continuing to own the remaining 69,
Hey.
nice, 0.66%. Now, Integot, you're the into the finance, into the business side of things. What do you
Okay.
make of this?
Okay, well, it's an acquisition, but no, it's interesting. I think Sony getting into this space, like they've obviously, to me, it's a little bit of a preventive move for Microsoft to a degree. It's interesting that these acquisitions at least announced at the same time. I kind of wonder how much Sony is working with Tencent on this one as well to try to like put a blocker into Microsoft. Because now what it means is the Microsoft they're just not going to buy something and get like 2/3 of it, whereas Sony and Tencent are going to own the rest. That's just too hard to manage as a company. So I genuinely think they were getting nervous that a Microsoft might come in and basically, lock down the next Dark Souls / Elden Ring / Bloodborne to, well, that, park that one actually because Sony owns that IP, but yeah, it's just, to me, a preventative measure. I don't think it's anything to do with like Sony trying to get it exclusively. It's more just making sure it doesn't become exclusive to Microsoft. That's my perspective on it. Don't see like what Sony could get from it outside of that because they don't own enough of it to bring it in-house like Bungie and actually use them for other features. Also, I'm not really sure like with From, like they make amazing games, like some of now my favorite games, but from a development house point of view, I don't think anything specifically with their tech is next level or anything like that. It's really more the creative people behind it, like almost a la Nintendo, where you wouldn't pick them up for tech stuff, but it's more just like the design perspective that they just shoot the lights out. But Swinny, how about yourself? Do you sort of have a reflection on that one?
Oh, look, this is it. It's not surprising. I'm surprised that Sony kind of hasn't made this move earlier. I know they did they own a partial amount already, or am I misremembering?
Yes,
that?
they did. But that's so one thing. Like, and you're more of a Japanese expert than I am. I'm not a Japanese expert at all. But with Japanese companies, they do this weird thing, which I like. I think it's kind of interesting, and probably should do it more in the West. But they actually often buy small interests in each other, like super minority stakes, like 0.5% of a company or 1% of a company. It's like almost like a respect type of thing. Like it's weird, but it's super common to see. Like even Nintendo owning like little shareholdings in companies they deal a lot with. So I think it was more that. I think they only owned a tiny percent. This is a massive upping of the stake.
To be clear, I'm definitely not an expert on Japanese business. Just be
Business,
clear.
yeah.
I just wanted to mention, so Kadokawa, actually, their statement around this was saying that these funds basically allow them to help them potentially to publish from software to be able to publish their own games worldwide. So that was the focus they did in their statement. Now, obviously, public statements versus what the actual reason was is, the things that can be different. But basically, we know that, Bandai Namco publish Elden Ring worldwide and the Dark Souls games and stuff. Whereas I'm not sure about Elden Ring, but I know Dark Souls was published by FromSoft in Japan, right?
Well, I think almost all From games are published by From.
I wasn't sure about Elden Ring, so I didn't want to say it. But basically, and Activision, for instance, published Sekiro worldwide. So now that's interesting because Bandai Namco last week, specifically Bandai Namco Europe, were basically saying that they're working hard behind the scenes to secure IP and partnerships with developers in an attempt to protect themselves from the impact of industry consolidation. So the timing of that was really interesting to come just before all this announcement. It's basically they're seeing the writing on the wall that obviously FromSoftware's games are a massive moneymaker for Bandai Namco, and if they don't have a piece of that pie, that's a massive impact to their business. So it's interesting. I don't know, like I don't fall either side of I like this or I don't like this. But any change worries me when it comes to FromSoft because they've just been they're putting out banger after banger, and like I don't want that to change. I don't want anything to change. Don't rock the boat, people.
I just checked all the games that Miyazaki worked on, and outside of obviously Bloodborne, which is published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and like the VR ones, they're all published by From in Japan.
Yeah.
And
There you go.
everything about From strikes me as like they are absolute control freak psychos, right? So I think it's probably to me less about money and things like that, because there's obviously money on the table if you're a publisher. Like they'll get a bigger piece of the pie versus if you publish it yourself and you're successful, right? But I think they just completely back themselves now. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna make a great game for their next game, whatever the game is gonna be. Hopefully not Elden Ring 2.
I know. Look, I know business is not all about like, oh well, you did us good in the past, kind of respect. Sometimes it's about pure money and stuff. But I mean, Bandai Namco absolutely like killed it with the marketing of Dark Souls, the first Dark Souls game. Right, that game, like they went to town on marketing of that, and that is part of the reason of it. So obviously, it's a great game, and it would have got through at some point. But Demon Souls was also a great game, and that didn't hit like Dark Souls. And part of that was the whole prepare to die marketing from Bandai Namco. And the Elden Ring marketing was insane from them as well.
It was awesome,
So it is like, I know that's not the way business works, but part of me is like, Bandai Namco have done really well by their games, I think, from a publisher standpoint. So it's a shame if they kind of get cut from that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think I still prefer companies publishing their own stuff if they can, because they then can control the whole chain. And also, by the way, we don't know, how there was the Elden Ring leaks, like leading up to the game? We don't know what the origin of those leaks were, right? And if you have a publisher involved, it just means that you've got another thing that you're not necessarily fully in control of, right?
Well, it's funny, every Dark Souls game, I don't know about Sekiro and Bloodborne did, like they all had some form of leak about them. It's kind of wild.
Yeah. So you do wonder though, like, because some of these companies are really crazy on that kind of stuff, like can be very Apple-like in terms of their confidentiality and obsession about, keeping those secrets in-house, like Nintendo. So I kind of wonder that as well. Like it will completely remove a huge factor of that going out. Outside of that, this definitely means that they will have mobile games, which is interesting. I'm not sure how we all feel about that. And
Look, in and of itself, not a problem.
well, just
but
wait.
if it's-
And before we go back to that, and the other one is like, we definitely will have a movie / TV show, something like that in this space.
that would be cool.
But yeah, Swinny, could I see you playing a Dark Souls mobile game?
I think when we're talking the Japanese mobile gaming market, it's very different than here. So I think that it will allow them to do more stuff like that. But like I could see like Armored Core being a good mobile series. But Mike, you were about
No, I was just going to say, look, in and of itself, whatever. We all know my views on mobile gaming in that sense, and not all mobile games are bad games. I just think it can do two things. One, it can take away resources from building actual great games that people want to play, like Elden Ring.
I don't think so.
I think it absolutely does, because you throw more people at it, sure, but that's not the same bunch of developers, and it's not the same developer at that point. It's a different thing. And secondly, I don't know what the developers working on those games are, but these games have predominantly been well, they're multiplayer experiences to a large extent, but really it's a single player experience at its core in many ways, with the addition of the ability to still do online stuff, absolutely. But I feel like, I don't want to speak on behalf of any developers or anything, obviously, because I have no idea what their views are, but I can imagine that culturally, something like this can have an impact where if, for example, if I was working for a company that was making really cool indie games or single player games, etc., and it was bought out by a parent company that loves mobile games and started allocating a bunch of us to work on mobile games, it changes the culture of the entire thing. And I think it can have a detrimental impact potentially on what the team is like and the work that they're doing. And you might start seeing people leave, you might start seeing the whole thing completely change. And I think there is a chance and there's a risk that it's just not going to be the same FromSoftware that we know and love today.
I think
But we'll see.
I think you're getting very excited. And I'll argue about the whole point about it's not a zero-sum game, right? Like this is finance 101, right? This is where they're literally giving money because they're buying in. They're giving money, and essentially what they will be able to do now from is say, okay, we can scale up our workforce, like add another 50, 100 people. They don't actually have many people at FromSoftware. And I bet a part of this deal will be they're basically allowing Tencent to go and create mobile IP, probably on the ancillary of like some of their other properties, not like, hey, this is a mainline kind of thing. And I bet they would have very little to do with it. And with the money that they're getting, they're actually able to do more, like potentially even add an extra game to their arsenal. So I can see a situation where this is not at all taking away from their resourcing, is adding to their resourcing, giving more security for what they want to do. And I don't know, you see something like, what is it called? Deracine? Is that how you say it? Deracine? The VR one?
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but you know, like it could be something like that from a mobile perspective as well. Like something from like their minds, but not necessarily fully related to like any of their IP. So I don't think it's going to have a major impact on them. But what I am excited about is like the Sony angle of like, hey, they could literally go and make a Dark Souls movie, TV series, something like that. I mean, if that was ever going to happen, this is the moment, given how crazy everyone's getting with like video game IP and just greenlighting everything. I'd be all for that shit. Like, imagine a Bloodborne like TV series, how insane that would be in terms of hype and everything.
Oh yeah, I'd absolutely be loving that kind of stuff. Sorry, go Swinny.
I mean, look, I'd have to see really what they do with that, because the style of storytelling in these games is so different than your traditional storytelling that you'd adapt to a TV or something, but TV series. But hey, look, no, they could. I'd love like an animated film or something. You know,
like
I don't know about like, or like a 3D CG film or something. Like I could see that being cool. But yeah. But no, big news in the space, and it's not the end of the mobile gaming discussion.
No, it's not.
No. And that's because this week, Sony has announced that they had acquired mobile game developer Savage Game Studios, making the launch of PlayStation Studios' mobile division. Sony are really on a huge buying spree. In a post in their official blog, PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst talked about this new division, saying that Savage Game Studios is joining a newly created PlayStation Studios mobile division, which will operate independently from our console development and focus on innovative, on-the-go experiences based on new and existing PlayStation IP. What do you think of this one, boys?
I mean, it falls in line with our discussion back, I think it was in 1st of June was the episode. I looked it up, that we were talking about Jim Ryan, PlayStation boss, talking about...
Jack Ryan?
Yes, our favorite CI agent. Basically, at the time, we're like, wait, they're saying that, you know, like they're going to split their releases between, you know, like console, PC, and mobile. And we're like, what mobile games are they got coming out? Because it said they're going to have 10% of their releases on mobile at the end of this financial year. Well, there you go. They already obviously had this acquisition lined up because Savage Game Studios apparently already working on a live service mobile game. So
yeah, they're going hard in the paint on the live service stuff, aren't they? Like, I mean, it's something that they've fully identified. And now, you know how we're both, Swinny, going almost into the back catalogue of Sony AAA titles? It's, you know, going through them, I'm like, fuck, there is an element of similarity in the zone of what they do. Like playing Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, like Last of Us. I'm like, there's something about it that it's kind of like the same game to a degree.
These third-person action adventures, you know, and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're just like the narrative, the structures, the beats. It's quite like similar. Like you can kind of see a tone of all of them. So yeah, like the Bungie acquisition was massive. It's still so weird.
I keep forgetting they acquired Bungie.
Well, it's so weird that they're not like hard under like this division. It's like they're a separate thing that they can do what they want. It's so weird the way they've structured it.
Did that deal close? I think it did finalize. I think
it has. Like there's no risk to it closing. So
it's just on a completely random side note. PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst Am I crazy? Every time I read his name, I think of that TV sitcom Herman's Head
yeah.
that had was it the voice of Lisa Simpson in it or whatever. I just cannot think of that show.
Well, he's done well, hasn't he? It's crazy. Like coming from what's the studio that does Horizon? I can't even remember.
Guerrilla Games.
Yeah, Guerrilla Games. And now he's one of the head honchos at Sony. So
I will say they did state that, look, of course they're going to say this, but like it doesn't change their approach to their AAA console development and stuff, just like the PC stuff doesn't. It is going to be interesting to see what IPs they bring over. Astrobot is obviously one that would make a good transition. They've already done a Sackboy mobile title in the past, so they could always bring something like that back. It'd be interesting if they bring over anything like your God of Wars. I can't see Last of Us ever having a mobile game, unless maybe they do. Maybe they do a multiplayer like the Last of Us multiplayer thing on there. But yeah, it'd be interesting what they do.
outside of the whole, I think, look, none of us are fans of mobile games, but outside of that core element of just ripping people off and whales and stuff. Like, it feels like no other mobile game really is successful outside of doing that. It just, I don't know if it's translating that well. Like, it's just kind of weird to me. Because, like, look at Nintendo, right? They tried to do it right, sort of, with things like Super Mario Run. And people are like, what? I got to pay $10? And I don't have to pay anything after that? This is bullshit. And it just doesn't work in the mobile space, just given the people in there. So... Yeah. I don't know.
Mike, as the number one fan of mobile gaming on this show, you a fan of this move?
I'm not a fan of any mobile game move because I don't want to rehash things I've spoken about many times before. I mean, look, it makes sense from a Sony perspective to buy stuff like this, purely because it's a revenue, it's a cash cow for them, I think, some of these studios. So, and it's a market that I think, for better or worse, is going to keep growing and growing and growing potentially. It's not something I enjoy whatsoever. I mean, you guys know I've got the smallest iPhone possible. I use it as a phone mostly, and sometimes YouTube. It's not the kind of thing that I play on. Maybe if I had a different device, sure, but I intentionally... take myself away from spending too much time on these kind of devices.
I feel like this is a little bit awkward, guys. As the executive producer, I do the deals behind the scenes, and we're kind of, we need some ad money, and I this is awkward now that you just said that, Mike. But this week's show is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
All right.
Jump into the game. Type in Big Wig Pod and get 1,000 credits. It's basically free.
Credits.
I personally love this game.
Oh,
I
totally.
find it really enjoyable. Don't you, Mike?
I got the logo tattooed on my ass.
We actually do get a lot of offers to advertise. We're luckily
it's usually a crypto.
we're
shit.
very no, we get like people reach out to advertise games, like regular mobile games and stuff like that, but we're selfishly very lucky that we don't need money from the show, so we can literally say fuck you. We don't give a shit. So
my last thought around this is that the reason why I don't mind this move, even though I'm not a big fan of mobile gaming, because I do try to get into mobile games, is that the only way I think that side of the industry is going to improve is by bigger players playing in it. I think that's the only way at this point that I think it's going to improve, because there are already indie games out there on mobile gaming that just don't get the attention, are good experiences, and you can purchase once off. There are games like that. But I think that, the only way I think it's going to get better is by people like this coming in.
Can I just counter that in a little way? Because it's a bit like, if you care about games, you'll get a Steam Deck, you'll get a Switch, you'll get, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many other ways to game.
No,
I get what you're saying, Swinny, but I feel like if Apple Arcade, they couldn't get that working really, really well, even though they say it's successful, it doesn't look successful based on the numbers of what I see. But
well, if I had an iPhone, I'd actually be playing those games.
Oh, dude, like you would love, like, so Mike, with Apple Arcade, it's like I believe it's like no monetization the way it's meant to work. Like, you can't pay extra from what I remember.
So that's the same as like the Google Play version of Apple Arcade is the versions in there aren't monetized.
Yeah.
And I do play those games. It's just that, like, yeah, it is what it is.
Okay.
Fair enough. All right, well. So we on to the next bit of news. So AMD have revealed their latest CPUs, the 7000 series Ryzen chips, along with a bunch of other things in their recent press conference, or premiere as they like to call it. And, well, it's all about performance, baby. So the latest... Damn straight. They actually said performance 67 times, I counted, in their premiere announcement.
Did you notice us saying it a lot and then
I
restarted?
noticed they said it a lot, and then I went, "Hang on a minute, how many
You
bloody
went
times did I
back
actually
to
say
start
it?"
counting. Okay.
And then I went back, started counting, and look, I may have missed a couple.
Man,
In
you
fact,
must have been sick this
my
week.
my sick in the head. My conspiracy theory is that maybe I missed a couple, and some script writer, because obviously someone writes these scripts, made 69 as a joke, and then just wrote the script, or they cut some stuff out, or they didn't pronounce it properly. I don't know. But I feel like it's too much of a coincidence. Anyway, so there were 67 of them. Not important how many there are, but what is important is the huge announcements around this. And look, all jokes aside, the performance is looking pretty good. So the new chips sit on a 6 nanometer die, if I'm not mistaken. They will require DDR5 memory. So any of the memory that you have today, you got to throw that out the window and buy whole new memory.
Oh, really?
Yeah, DDR5 only.
This is
Although
why I
have
need to understand this update from you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Keep going.
It's the new AM5 platform. So AM5 socket LGA. So socket LGA is basically what Intel uses at the moment. So current Ryzen chips, much like your chip, running on AM4 sockets, and AM4 has been around for a little while. It's actually pretty cool what AMD did with being able to retain the same socket for so long. So since the very first Ryzen, so the series that you might have, all the way up to now, well, the Series 4 wasn't actually for desktops, but you have 1, you've got the 2, you've got the 3, you've got the 5. They all ran on AM4. So you could basically, use certain motherboards for generations that came afterwards. It was awesome to be able to do something like that. However, now it's all running on AM5. Socket, and one of the biggest differences as well is they've actually switched over to LGA. So the pins currently are on the chip itself, whereas Intel have the pins on the actual motherboard, and the chip itself is basically flat. So what's happening now is exactly that. So the new motherboards will have the actual pins, and the new chips themselves will be effectively flat. But completely new socket as well. I know this is what you're like. What
This is
going
Swinny's
on?
brain right now.
No, I was actually looking up what Ryzen I had. I'm like, how far
2600,
behind I am. I've got
what do you have?
No, he doesn't have 2600.
I've
got a better one.
I've got a Ryzen 5 1600.
1600. Yep. Cool. Okay, so that's like the
I have no idea how old or bad or good that is.
That's bad
so-
because mine's bad and yours is worse.
Look, they're still for
mine's pretty old.
a lot of intents and purposes, still a very decent CPU. So, but in your case, I mean, depending on what motherboard you have, what I'm trying to say is that you could probably upgrade to like the 2 or maybe even the 3 series. I don't know, because I don't know what kind of motherboard you have. Which with Intel, you can't do that in a lot of instances where they've retained the same socket for so long that you're able to just kind of go, fuck it, this CPU is getting a little, long in the tooth. You could just go out, buy another CPU, and it'll work on your motherboard, basically.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay,
Well, not at all. You can look online and you can kind of see, depending on your motherboard, like I said, where it cuts off. And as long as you update your BIOS, you should be able to do it. So, for example, when my board came out, or when I purchased my board, the 3 series, so the 3000 series were out, and I was running the 3000 series. When the next series came out, with a BIOS upgrade, I can run the 5000 series on my board no problem, which is exactly what I did. And it's pretty cool because you can kind of upgrade through 3 generations. So obviously you're going to need a new motherboard. If you want any of these chips, you're going to need new RAM. So there's a bit of a cost in there. Although I did notice that RAM, surprisingly, wasn't as expensive as I thought. I've been seeing some pretty good deals on DDR5 RAM.
It's gone way down, man.
it dropped down quite a bit, and I think it also is good news, I guess, for people who are buying the current generation, because I'm expecting higher capacity RAM to also drop down in price when it comes to DDR4. And honestly, like the CPU that I have at the moment, the 5950, is a mind-blowingly amazing CPU.
Yeah.
I actually use
That's
it.
basically like the most powerful
At the
currently
moment,
available
it's probably the best
consumer
currently available consumer CPU.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
But the important part is how big is the box, Mike?
Yeah,
How
the
big
box.
is the box?
Ironically, I won't bring the boxes out. I can't.
Don't
'cause
bring
my
it on.
cat-
Why'd you
my
do
cat
it,
is
Swinny?
sleeping on me. My cat is
Why'd
sleeping
you
on
do
me,
it,
so I'm
you
not going to do it.
bastard?
Yes.
No, but hang on, hear me out. I actually
Fuck off.
just hear me out for a sec, because this is kind of weird. So I've got multiple chips and multiple boxes, and what actually surprised me is wait, hang on.
Multiple boxes.
When I opened the 5950 box, it was by far the shittest box that any of the CPUs came in. It was weird, man. It was weird. It was the least premium, and it just had a piece of fucking cardboard inside, in like an X shape to hold the shape, and that's it. And the plastic bloody thing. It was by far the most no frills, cheap shit box that I could possibly think of. That they may as well just have given it to you like just by itself. Anyway, back to
sorry, I just want to
yeah.
quote the amazing George W. Bush. Mission accomplished. Thank you.
Mission accomplished. We got him.
okay. So let's
That was
go
like
back to
1
the
year after that war started, and it went on for like 20 years.
let's
It's crazy.
go back to the announcement at base. So look, they're claiming a 13% improvement in IPC, or instructions per clock, which is they actually had a really cool graph that sort of showed the generation of jump in that. Hang on, my cat is sitting on my exhaust fan on my PC, licking himself, and that's probably not good for him. He's literally
This is a
sitting
very
on the
exciting
exhaust fan.
segment.
He's sitting on the exhaust
love
fan
it.
of my case. You trying to destroy my 3600? Come on. All right, and for the new Zen for microarchitecture, so the result is a claimed 29% improvement in single-threaded performance over the
Oh, that's
prior
pretty good.
generation chips, which is quite a lot. And they also claim up to 45% more performance in multi-threaded application. And I think from memory, from the video, they were showing the 5950X versus the 7950X. So the top two CPUs. As well as that, they also spoke about a bunch of other things, like for example the frequency stretching up to 5.7 gigahertz. That's an impressive 800 megahertz jump over the prior generation.
No, it's an 800 megahertz improvement.
Improvement over the prior generation.
He wanted to really land that point.
I get given shit for my writing in the
All good?
worksheet. I gotta pay it out.
I deserve it.
He is
You're
the
right.
asshole. You're right.
Which is a crazy man. I mean these are boost speeds. It's not sustained workload speed at 5.7 gigahertz. Again, I am blown away by what a consumer chip like the one that I have can possibly do. So if these claims are real, holy macaroni, that's insane. They also did they I keep joking around in my head, but they also talked about the efficiency of some of these chips. So for running at the same amount of power, they're also more efficient than the whole. That it is not how much they will cost. I will get to the price in a second.
Swinny's gone.
So speaking of prices, actually, so what actually surprised me, and I was having a chat with Joe about this one, is the prices. They're actually quite reasonable. So the 7600X.
Reasonable, 10 grand.
No, that's not the price of it.
Hey,
that is absolutely not the price of it.
This
Read
is
the
a
notes.
real website. This is a real Australian
that is
site.
obviously a placeholder.
Do you reckon?
so-
I don't know. It could be real.
100% a placeholder. So okay, so the it's interesting though, and I actually don't know the reason why, but I have some suspicions. Their stack starts at the 7600X, which is a 5 series, so a Ryzen 5 7600X, which is sort of what I guess at the moment are more the mid-tier CPUs. So the fact that they're starting at that is quite fascinating, and I don't know if that's because their process is so efficient that they're not binning chips as much anymore, where they have lower end ones where they kill off a few cores or whatever. and that's starting at $299 USD, which is a pretty bloody good price for the kind of performance that you get out of a chip like that. Next up, you got the 7700, and I think this is where it gets interesting, where you got the 7900X, which is starting at $549 USD. And what I find fascinating is the 7950X at $699 USD. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the 5950 came out at $799 USD.
That's
so this
correct.
is actually cheaper
That's correct.
than the 5950X.
You may have mentioned this, and obviously I just jumped back in. Like when we're talking conversion prices to.
Swinny, look how he said it's cheap. Look how much this is. Can you see this? It's insane. It's
not
he goes,
that.
That's cheap. How much?
That's
how
a placeholder.
How rich is Mike? That's what I want to
I
know.
am not
Yeah.
rich. That's a placeholder.
I
Hey,
just
that's a real website.
my question, just like when we're talking conversion prices currency wise, does Australia get screwed with like CPUs as well as like most other stuff?
We do a little bit. So I'm trying to remember off the top of my head how much the 5950X was. It was like 11 or 1200 bucks or something when it came out. You can probably look it up into God, but I think from memory,
Yeah,
it was
but
about
currencies
1100.
move and stuff like that. But
And because it's hard to kind of tell you, but absolutely you'd be looking at obviously the conversion plus the 10% GST, plus you're going to look at another 10-15%
yeah,
at least.
that's
The
pretty
plus
across the board with
Availability
PC
and
stuff,
shit,
yeah.
it depends. I can see retailers, they'll sell out at RIP, easily sell out at RIP.
Oh, you reckon it'll have the same issue as like graphics cards?
Maybe not the
Not
same
that
issue,
extreme,
but a
right?
chip like 7950 that they probably won't have as many on the shelf, I can imagine being sold. Just because of the crazy performance claims that it has, kind of like how the graphics cards got sold up fairly quickly. Now, in saying all that, you look amazing results, amazing everything. If you've got a current generation CPU or a current generation platform and you don't want to fork out all this cash, now is actually probably a good time to keep your eyes out on just upgrading the current CPU that you have. So maybe if you're running a 3600, consider a 3900X or something that might go on special, or a 57, 58, 5900X if your motherboard supports it. And even if it doesn't, you can probably find a fairly cheap motherboard that is really, really good for under 200 bucks to compensate as well. And you're still going to get many years of performance out of that instead of jumping onto the new one. Plus, the reality is the new platform, you can see it's going to have some issues here and there, no doubt. So I'd probably wait until you jump on it, but yeah.
And maybe that's what Integot's doing. Maybe he's upgrading his CPU finally.
Maybe.
Just so I can do more
so what
stuff
are you
with the
gonna-
show.
What are you going to try to get, a 5900?
We'll see if
Honestly,
things work.
I would not bother with the 5950 unless you do super heavy video editing, and even then, to be honest,
5950. Dude, I actually do a lot of video editing. What do you think we do
no,
with the
I
show?
know, but what I'm saying is, okay, look, I've been doing very basic benchmarks between my 3900X and the
Basic bitch
5950X.
benchmarks.
Yeah, basic. I know,
Basic
that's what I
bitch
thought. It was like
benchmarks.
triple Bs. I've been doing some triple Bs on
Nothing
it.
super major, but so
triple
first of
B'd
all,
it.
in terms of the rendering,
Sorry, Mike.
That's all
Sorry.
in terms of rendering files, running off your GPU was still quicker than using the CPU, and that kind of surprised me, and I'm still trying to understand exactly why. I guess because
What are we talking about?
So rendering, I try to export render. I should use the correct language here. A few test videos that I had in
but
DaVinci
dude-
Resolve, and NVIDIA kind of consistently got like 15-20% faster.
Yeah, but faster doesn't mean it turns out to be a higher quality video.
The quality is different
This
as
is
well.
the big
Absolutely,
thing,
yeah,
right? Like,
yep.
we're talking the difference between, do you want to render something that's going to be a VOD, so it's going to be seen forever?
Yeah.
You want to get that to a higher quality, right? So
Yeah, so I
wouldn't
haven't
do
done
it.
those
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of really
yeah.
good ones. So of course, in instances like that, absolutely. But for most intents and purposes, I didn't notice the performance of the timeline. You still have to have proxies for any of the stuff that you do, especially if you're using 4K videos. In scrubbing through them, unless you have proxies, no real improvement. It still lags. And it kind of makes sense, I guess, trying to render that stuff real time. It's super difficult. Plus, you need faster hard drives and all that than what I currently have. So I would probably I'm super content with the current chip that I have, and I don't think I'll
We got
jump on
the
the
most
7950
powerful
for a
chip
while.
that you can
well,
get on the
exactly. How could you not be content? What, I'm gonna watch this thing and then go, oh fuck, this is like
This is a battle of the assholes. You're like,
this is
oh, this
so
is shit
old
CPU.
now.
It's the best
That's
CPU
an
you can buy.
amazing CPU.
You know-
It's like, I never thought years ago that I would get something like that.
You know what this segment has made me kind of really realize? That I'm very happy to be a console mainly gamer.
Dude, that's the problem with the 5950X is it costs more than the Xbox One just for the chip.
Yeah, so it will
It's more
be, my
expensive.
guesstimate will be about 1250 Australian, the top line chip.
You reckon, even though it's cheaper than what I reckon I'm looking at about 1100. I reckon
1100, but then that's basically like a direct
11,
translation with
1150.
that's cheaper than a direct translation from the US with GST added. I don't see how that's possible.
That's a good point. So you're right. It'll probably be be 1299 or something.
Yeah, like what I said.
Yeah, you're right. No, I agree
It's
with you. Now that I think
expensive.
about it, it makes
It's
sense.
expensive. I think you can get like a 5950 for like 700 to 800 now, and it's probably going to drop.
Last time I checked it was 8 plus. But
well, maybe
Amazon,
Integot-
Amazon
maybe
had them for like
Maybe
750
Integot got a good deal on it.
How much did you grab it for?
I don't know. It's my birthday's coming up. Not to dox myself, but
Okay, right.
yeah, we'll see. But
Because
the
I
other
got it
thing
for
is,
a decent deal as well, which is why I ended up grabbing it. So
this is becoming like Mike's tech tips. The other thing is, Mike, that with the hardware encoding of video on the NVIDIA chips, you can only do so many streams. I think it's like 2 to 3. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, which makes it a challenge for us because I'm encoding like your stuff and like it's too many. Like I have to rely on the CPU at some point. So that's for me why.
So something like this would help a lot.
Yeah,
then.
massively. Especially
like
it's multi-core and multi-threaded. So
I mean, one thing that I did notice a huge improvement in is I was mucking around with house designs and stuff like that, and the rendering for that, because the program that I'm using doesn't use the GPU; it exclusively uses the CPU. Holy mother of, even between the 3900 and the 5950, it's like it just loads.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy how fast it is.
yeah, I'm going to upgrade my PC because I'm using my PC so much. Like I'm actually kind of blown away how much I use my PC. So I'm slowly piece by piece upgrading it. I'll upgrade the motherboard next, much to your chagrin.
RAM actually, like, because Ryzen's very like 3600 is this. I forget what the sweet spot is. Ask Joe, he knows much more. And then there's a bunch of tweaks you can do, and by tweaks I don't mean overclocking or anything. It's just setting the correct timings on the RAM to, and also the frequency on the RAM to be. AMD have this thing called Infinity Fabric, and you want to get the ratios correct between the frequency that you're running the RAM at.
God, that's some like emotion engine level gaming right there.
It's actually super easy to set up and stuff. You go to BIOS, it's like 2 bloody clicks and 2 settings and stuff. I'm surprised
It's
it
not
doesn't do
easy.
it automatically.
Like-
In modern stuff is easy, man.
Dude,
It's nothing like
well,
what
yeah,
it used to
easier
be.
than the old DMA interrupt.
Oh my
bullshit,
god,
like
the way
where
you used to have to do
it's like
shit.
magic.
But
But
even the old BIOSes where you're like, oh god, where the hell
But,
is
like,
this setting? And you
what
gotta
shits
type
me
key
is
in.
when PC people, and I don't consider myself a PC person, even though I use a fuckload of, like I use my PC every day. Is like, I never say this, but when PC people, you just did it, go, oh, it's really easy to do this, right? And then
Okay,
you
fair
talk to them about their experience and they go, oh yeah, I had to fuck around with this for 5 hours to get it working. I'm like, that's not fucking easy. And with kids and like a really busy
Yeah,
job
you're
and
right.
like other shit that I want to do, quite honestly, I don't have the time to tweak the shit out. I'll just go buy the best thing, whack it in there.
No, but that's the
pray
thing.
that
It
the
doesn't
settings
work
are
like
right.
that. It doesn't work like that. That's the problem.
does.
It doesn't. No, because by default, XMP and the equivalent, whatever AMD calls it and shit, it's not on by default. You plug your RAM
Doesn't
in,
matter.
and it's it does because
It'll be
it still
half the
runs at
speed
the
and it'll
lowest.
still be good.
Well,
Does the
it'll be
game
good in
run-
your
does
head,
the
but it
game
doesn't actually
run?
run
Yes.
at that
Exactly.
speed.
All good.
It
I
doesn't run at
run
that speed. Is the
Quake
problem.
3
You need to
at a
manually
solid
set it.
80 frames per second, mate. So,
I run Quake 3 in a little 200 by 200 pixel window to get 200 frames a second.
Swinny, all jokes aside, if you do want to take a look at, if you tell me your motherboard, we can see if my spare 3600.
oh yeah, that'd be good.
And
The
then
only-
you can just do a straight swap into.
The only
practically.
reason I would upgrade my PC anytime soon is if like there was a reason for the show for video reasons.
Well,
That's
no,
honestly
like,
the only reason.
Okay, like this is getting way BTS at the moment, right? I ran some triple Bs on this, but basically,
Basic beach benchmark.
I had to change a bunch of the settings because it was slamming your CPU, the old settings that I had.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like the only reason I would do that is for the show and the production wise.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be to play games because any game at the moment that I go to play, I can run
easily
fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not running it like at ultra 120 frames a second, but it's running to a level that I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And any game that's multi-platform, I'm playing on console.
Oh, wait, I just realized I have your 1600.
Because I could potentially. What the hell? He's just got it spare, like exactly.
I've literally got a CPU as a spare there.
Mike, you can open an AMD museum and like charge entry for him.
But this is what I mean. Look at the size of this bloody box, and this is his old CPU.
Okay,
so
if we, because I'm upgrading my thing, if you do that, I might actually be able to bump the settings of the show up, and then also.
Ooh.
And you didn't know this, Mike. I bumped the show down to 30 frames per second.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Yeah. So no one noticed. so it's like, but I might be able to bump it up to 60. Ugh. So we'll see how we go. All right, Mike.
Awesome.
Good segment.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
And now I believe it's over to you, integot.
Oh, why is it over to me? So
because it says int there, and it says it's time to wrap up this week's gaming. Integot.
Square brackets means you don't say it. Square brackets are show notes.
I didn't know that.
So it's time to wrap up the week's gaming news. And we have it as the big Sizzler because it's a smorgasbord of news.
That's why I thought it was you because you're introducing this awesome new segment that you know all about.
So we have hundreds of notes that you won't see, and then we pick out the things that we find interesting.
So, same as we've done last 3 weeks, it just says a new name.
Basically, just has a name now.
It's a better name, the big Sizzler. We need a bumper for it. I can really see a bumper for it, 90s style. Maybe I'll kick off the batting. So one thing that caught my eye was all the interviews that Valve has done recently, and also they've released this like handbook. I'm about to sneeze.
Yes, a handbook that was very marketing style handbook.
It was a mix. It was to celebrate the launch in Hong Kong, Japan, a few other territories, Taiwan, is it? That the Steam Deck is coming out into, and also I think signaling it's getting close to being announced in Australia, which I am going to be very excited about. And same as you, Mike. Hey, Mike, do you want me to hit you up straight away when I find out about it? Because I'm sure I'll find out at first. Yeah.
Hell to yeah. The only thing that's holding me back is I feel like, how long's the Steam Deck been around for now? Over a year, right?
So on your thing, they touched on it will definitely be a multi-generational device. But when you listen to everyone, like them talking about it, they're not going to revise it. Like, it does not feel like they're going to revise it in the next year or two, Mike. So it's, I think, you can hold off, but I think you might be holding off for like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, probably hold off too much. So, what are you, sorry.
What's going on, mate?
I don't know.
Look at this. He's got people in the background.
We've got an invader.
Turn my heater off.
Look at this. We've got a guest on the show.
We need an
Get
NDA.
outta
We need an
here.
NDA and a release for the likeness.
Exactly.
To turn my heater off.
She didn't have a speaking thing, so we didn't have to
Doesn't
pay her.
like
She's
you
just an
spending
extra.
So, yeah, look, I absolutely, I think I'll be all over it, to be honest. The only thing is, no joking here. The new Ryzen chips are looking really energy efficient. They're looking really energy efficient. And I think that's a huge drawback of some of the current gen stuff, just battery life. So anything that has more efficiency, I can kind of, because I was investigating a bunch of different handhelds at the moment, and one of the things that it
Chinese
keeps coming.
ones.
Yeah, but there's some really good ones. And I think it keeps coming down to the same thing. You want anything that's semi-okay performance, that you can get at least 30 frames and a whole bunch of good games, maybe even more. Good luck. You're going to be able to play the game for about an hour and a bit.
Of course.
So, and it makes sense, obviously.
Trade-offs.
It makes sense. Trade-offs. Trade-offs.
All right.
But
The
they've
one
done a
that-
lot. Well, I know. Hang on. He's gone off in diatribe.
I'm just trying to move things along.
Well, I want to get my bit.
I'm trying to be the producer.
Get back in your box, editor.
I could have been a producer.
I could have been something. So a couple of things. I have done like such a deep dive on it, Mike. I recommend to you. Sounds counterintuitive, but I would just get the 64 gigabyte version of the Steam Deck.
Why? Because I heard there's other, but it's not so much the size whatever, but there's other things about it that I thought
So
are
a couple of things.
good
Couple of things
about the upgraded ones.
I checked all the reviews about the anti-glare version. So that's the 512. That's the max version. It's the only one that has the anti-glare. The 256 or the middle one does not have it, right?
Okay.
And everyone who has the anti-glare, they're like, yeah, it's okay, but it's like, they all say, honestly, if they didn't know and you weren't putting it side by side, you wouldn't really think about it at all. And you can actually get a screen protector that has anti-glare as well as an option. And people have that and they go, oh yeah, it looks really good, right? The other thing is, okay, you go the higher ones because they have better internal storage. Because the Steam Deck is so easy to open and access compared to anything else, you can actually buy the internal storage for dirt cheap.
What does it use? An M.2? What does it even use?
It's an NVMe, like that you can literally buy on Amazon.
Yourself. Yeah, they are pretty cheap.
Like the exact one. It's not like similar. It's the exact one, right?
Okay.
And it's like $40 Australian,
Damn,
right?
okay.
And the price differential for us will be like $200. So I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna get the 64. And the other thing about it is they make more of the 64. So I feel like if you go for the other ones, I don't know if you get it as early. So I don't know. I'm going for the 64 and I'll order it straight away as soon as it comes out.
I mean, it's nice to have. I know people that buy hard drives for their Xbox and whatnot. I'm now in the habit where I've got a small handful of games installed and that's it. I just uninstall it. And
Same.
all thanks to the fact that we have internet now that's usable.
Yeah, my PS5 literally has 2 games on it. I delete everything else, like Horizon and Spider-Man. Oh no, it takes 2.
So as long as minus the
I've had that
OS
on
and
there
all that
for so
shit.
long, no one's playing with me. But the other thing I realized with the Steam Deck is it's so, like relatively easy PC language, relatively easy to get like stuff like PS remote play working on it. And the more I think about it, I think it's just like the best form factor to play that kind of stuff. So yeah, super hyped about that and super hyped that they're like getting a massive support, so they're going to support it for ages. Swinny,
yeah.
Swinny,
Yes.
Swinny,
Enticing you.
Swinny.
So about a month and a bit ago, we talked about Treasure teasing a new game for the first in forever. So Treasure, classic Japanese developer, and we've seen that a new Radiant Silvergun game is actually being leaked ahead of Tokyo Game Show. So that seems like that's the game potentially, unless that's coming out from someone else. That is the game that they were talking about. So that's really cool. I only ever dabbled in Radiant Silvergun. That's kind of like the Ikaruga was kind of the spiritual sequel to Radiant Silvergun. So that's really, really cool. I probably would have preferred maybe like a new Mischief Maker game makers or something like that. But hey, Radiant Silvergun is a cult classic, so that's awesome.
Yeah, nice. Mike?
The fact that they're making, there's an iteration of the PlayStation 5 that's been released in Australia apparently.
Yeah.
That makes the console lighter. I mean, if there's one thing that I have always wanted was for my PlayStation, which always sits in exactly the same spot, catching dust, to be much lighter. Do you realize the amount of force that bloody thing puts on my TV cabinet? Because it's so goddamn heavy.
Really?
It's basically warped everything, man.
Dude,
Yeah,
you
like,
have the weakest fucking TV
I'm
cabinet.
shitting you. Obviously didn't.
Oh, okay.
Who gives a shit
No,
how
I
heavy
thought
it
you
is?
were being real
That's the
for a
last thing I
second.
care about. That is the absolute last thing I give a shit about.
I think you
when
need
it
to
comes
tweak
my
your
console.
sarcasm indicator a little bit.
I wasn't watching his face when he was saying it, to be fair.
So yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. I mean, and I'm always skeptical. I'm like, is it an improvement or are they just skimping out on parts?
Because I do think, and I want to shout out when it's an Australian outlet, I think, honestly, it was Press Start that discovered it.
Okay.
Because I think they were
Someone
tipped
just
off by
weigh it?
someone. I think earlier today.
Maybe it's because it was a new one and there were no games installed, so it weighed less.
If there is,
Oh no, it was something else. Sorry. No,
if
no,
they
no.
are not
Came from a
skimping
different
on
thing.
parts or for any reason, then I am all for consoles being lighter than heavier.
But
Oh, look, I got nothing against
But
it.
Mike, is it the console or the box? I know it sounds like it shouldn't make a difference.
I've heard the console.
I've heard of it's the console.
It's the
That's
console.
I'm
what
reading
I'd
what
heard.
the editor's.
That's
putting
what
in,
I'd heard.
so.
I gotta say, as much as I like the revisions of the PS, like PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, and 4, as they go through the generation, history always says getting the very first iteration of the PlayStation is always smart. Because Sony always ends up removing shit from them, right? And it's not always
Can do.
great, right? Like PlayStation 2, they had like a full-on, PlayStation 1 in there effectively. And then PlayStation 3, they had a PlayStation 1 and a 2 in there. Right.
I'm just trying to remember at what point did they integrate the... I know in PlayStation 2 when they shrunk it, they integrated the... either they integrated or they took out the power brick.
Oh, no, that
was one or the
PlayStation
other.
2 you're talking about?
I think it was the PlayStation 2. I think I ended up having
Yeah, that
one
was
of them. I had
the
the one
Slim.
that-
I think when they did the PS
Slim one, yeah.
yeah.
Did they get rid of it to put it outside? I just remember one of the iterations.
No, it's like in the system. Like they
Yeah,
can't
but
get
it used
rid
to
of
be
it.
external from memory. It used to
Yeah,
be
and
an
then they brought it
external
back
power
in.
brick.
Yeah, they brought it
So
back
they put it in, and I think I had the one where they put it in at one point, and I just
Yeah.
remembered buzzing and sounding like a mofo because I
You
was
get-
pretty close to
you
the
get
TV at the
obsessed.
time. I was like,
Okay.
man,
You have
I
very
think
bad
it's just my
console
hearing.
luck.
No, it's
very
just
bad.
his
But I also think
sensitivity.
it's I have like whatever.
Yeah,
like,
OCD with that
it's
shit.
probably OCD, bloody some form of.
I get coil
Yeah.
whined with my graphics card. You
Oh,
would
so
go
does mine. Yeah.
nuts. I
No,
have to
I do go nuts. Mine does
Yeah.
it too. So.
All right,
It's
enough
horrible.
about PC parts. What's the next?
This is
thing
the
you've got?
PC show now.
I know. I'm trying to like stop
Welcome
it
to
being the PC show.
segment.
Why? It's
honestly,
gaming.
There's nothing else I really give a shit about that's been happening. So
No, I said integot. What's the next one you want?
The other one that I'm excited about is, given that it feels like the Marvel Versus series is dead and buried for the moment at least, until Marvel sucks again. I'm excited that the SNK versus Capcom series seems to be revised and revitalized. Sorry. There was some stuff around Evo that was released, some artwork, and they're kind of being a very tongue-in-cheek. Oh, it'd be awesome if we did this. We'd be happy to chat. But it's like, come on, right? No companies just go out there and say, oh, I'd love to do a deal with like, Facebook if you're Ray-Bans. Like, something's happening or not already. So I'm excited about that. I think like it's becoming like a real almost golden era with fighting games, I think. I personally have gotten back into fighting games a lot more. The whole scene, that's a really awesome niche scene. But I do think like with the new Street Fighter, I could really imagine that, kicking some massive goals. Capcom are kind of doing really well in all facets at the moment. And I think with the new input in Street Fighter 6, that makes it like a lot easier for people to actually input commands. I think that plus, other things that are happening in the fighting game space, I'm really excited. Like if they do an SNK versus Capcom, how it shapes up will be really interesting.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see whether or not it's something that is made by SNK or Capcom, because we saw their different approach in the early games, like what is it? SNK versus Capcom Chaos, and then you've got the Capcom versus SNK, the ones that Capcom did, and they were very different, but they were very cool in their own way. And I played a lot more of Capcom versus SNK 2 than I did of SVC Chaos. But it'd be cool. Like I could see SNK making it, to be honest. Kind of feels like they might want it more than Capcom. So.
Oh
And
yeah,
I'd be,
of course.
I'd be cool. I'd like to see them have another approach in the modern times.
Yeah. And it's like so crazy how the crossovers in the fighting game space is like such a definitive feature now of that whole era. I remember because we're so old, like I legitimately remember when Street Fighter 2 came out in the arcade, right?
Well, it's insane to me. Like, there's almost no barriers anymore. Like, you look
No.
at Tekken's 8 had, Akuma, and it had Geese Howard, and there's so many crossovers. The only crossover that hasn't happened, which is the one from the 90s, which was anything to do with Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. That's the only one that hasn't happened, and I don't think that will
can't see
happen.
that happening. Yeah,
Yeah, but I'm saying
that's a
that's-
cultural thing, I think, if anything.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like it's almost like all the other big series have crossed over in some form now,
Yeah.
except for that divide. So.
I think if Mortal Kombat was made by a Japanese company, it would have happened. I literally just think that's the issue. But yeah, you're right. Like the big one that I always think about is and it's not complete, and it probably never will be, but the Street Fighter cross Tekken cross Street Fighter collab that they sort of half did. Like that is insane. Like they're pretty much. What do you reckon, Swinny? Like Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat? Like if you had to nail 3 purist fighting series, or you probably put those three
Well,
in, right?
they're the biggest three. Not counting Smash, they're the biggest three.
Smash is a
franchises.
different thing. In my
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
opinion,
Like like traditional. Like they're the biggest three franchises,
Yeah,
money wise and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
So like it's insane that they crossed those series over. Sort of, they haven't. Which one is it? It's like they haven't done Tekken cross Street Fighter. They've done Street Fighter cross Tekken.
Yeah, they've done it in the way. They've done it in the style of Street Fighter. They haven't done it in the style of Tekken.
Yeah, which would be
outside
awesome,
of
man.
adding Akuma in.
I'd be fucking all over that. That would be really cool. That'd be a good way to get in. So.
The last thing I wanted to mention here was the fact that, like, I haven't mentioned it on the show, but I've been wanting to double back in the RPG Maker world since like I did it when I was much younger. And the new RPG Maker Unite actually has a really cool feature that I would have loved back then when I was using it a lot, which was auto balancing. So basically, you can say, okay, the whole thing about balancing battles in an RPG. Well, like if you just trying to make your own, like, oh, how hard do you make the enemies here? How hard do you make them there? You can actually set like what the max level is going to be, what the expected level is going to be, and then it will auto balance all the enemy fights throughout the game based on your settings. And you will also have the option to auto balance the weapon damage based on those values as well. So I have no idea how good or bad it is, but it's really cool that they're adding that stuff into this new version. That I just bought the old version like 7 months ago, so I'm kind of like,
do you bother using it now? Do you just wait and jump onto the new one?
Well,
I know what you
see.
mean.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's really
When's
cool
Unite coming out?
I can't remember the exact release date, but it's not too far away because I'm seeing a lot of feature announcements about it. So.
Yeah. Given how long you spent making your last RPG, it probably makes sense to jump on Unite. You sunk cost on what you've bought, and just stick with that one for ages.
Like I haven't started using it outside testing it. So.
Well, it's a sunk cost then. It's a sunk cost.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's coming this year at least. So there's not many months left.
So like Mike, like I think you'd be in this with me if we did a GoFundMe / Kickstarter. That's a nicer version of it, right? Like, would you not back Swinny if Swinny was like, "Hey, I need to take a year off. I need like 50 grand or whatever." I would literally. I have enough money.
I know he'd do it.
I would like tip in 25 grand.
Can you just give me 50 grand and that's it? I'll take a year off.
I was gonna say something that's so inappropriate on the show.
I'll take a year off.
I'll translate it and say you have to get your knee pads out and then nothing about it.
Oh my god.
But no. What I was saying is like I would literally back Swinny that if he said it was like a year, I need a year, and it's like I just threw a number out there, be like 50 grand. You would go 25 grand, wouldn't you, Mike? Maybe
He's
not.
No,
He's like, no.
Oh, you wouldn't.
no.
You wouldn't.
Of course he wouldn't. Who would?
I'm saying I would.
I would give it to myself.
I'm saying so then you can make the game, whatever game
Just
you
give
want
me
to
the
make.
money and let's see what happens.
I trust him. If there's one person I do trust, it is Swinny. He's got integrity, but
I don't know about trust. I just think you'd make something really good. Like,
but a year, man.
Swinny is like had a whole life of training to make an RPG.
Well, just think when I was trying to use RPG Maker before, that was before achievements were a thing.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm too distracted these days. I wouldn't.
That's the only catch. Otherwise, yes.
I could see it, man. I could see it. Like, my pitch is like Swinny makes an RPG every year. He's like the Aussie Chemco Oz. His cadence is yearly.
You would give me money to make a Chemco style game?
Hey, they make money, man. They keep releasing games, right? Like, dude, like it works.
Specifically for Swinny.
And I'll do all the dodgy mobile stuff that's Swinny. You don't look at it. Don't worry about it.
I'll just
don't
have
worry
to
about
write
all the whales. Just don't worry about it.
I'll have to write the little cutscene that happens in every EXE Create game where they ask you to write a review. Like, but it's built into the story. It's built into the story, and then they open. It's so funny.
It's a main mission where you have to write a review for the game.
Literally,
tell your
like
friends about it.
They write it as a joke, like 4:4 breaking with the characters talking about it, and it's like if you say yes, it opens up the store thing for you to write a review. It's really funny.
So have we done a deal, Swinny? Is this what you're going to do? Quit your job and do this for a year?
Well, let's talk offline and see if you can give me 50 grand in cash, take a year off.
I would make that investment. I reckon that's a good investment.
All right. Well, that's all I wanted to cover in the big Sizzler.
The big Sizzler.
Excellent. All right. So what's on for next week? Well, we'll be covering Ubisoft's Forward. and it includes Assassin's Creed.
We're not streaming that,
Mirage
right?
As a reveal, I don't think so. No.
I'm always up
Probably
for
not.
anything, especially this. But you
Anything?
guys, you
Well, what
guys would
time
be
is it? What
interested.
time is it?
I don't know.
Oh,
have
fuck,
a look
that's
up.
it's
Anything?
a-
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Tuesday,
you
I
guys
could probably
aren't. You
do it,
guys
yeah.
aren't gonna live stream reaction to Assassin's Creed things. So I'm like,
I don't know.
I'm looking at
like,
it.
I just shoot the
Nah,
shit. It's not
we'll-
like I
nah,
actually.
nah. We're not live streaming it, but there is also another.
Why not?
There is also another.
Oh yeah, no, it's 5 a.m. Fuck that.
Okay, then no.
There's also a live stream for Cyberpunk 2077 where they're going to cover like the
Oh,
hopefully
really?
hopefully the DLC, because that's what I'm waiting for. That was part of my like most anticipated wanting to see what they're doing, because I want to go back to that world and I want a good reason to. So
And I've got the day off on Friday, Australian time, to play Splatoon 3. I think I actually will be doing a bunch of errands and stuff like that as well. And I'll
Nah,
get Amiibo,
look
so I'll be able to
yourself,
do
man.
Amiibo reviews.
Oh, great. Oh, my God.
I literally don't even know how many Amiibos I'm picking up. But it's like some. There's some. I love the look on your faces. Like how
I
excited.
know I want the amiibo. Bring it on.
Oh, you want it?
I want an amiibo segment every week. I do. Because it brings me endless entertainment to see Mike's reaction to it.
That and analog. There'll probably be analog stuff next week as well.
No, analog I want to hear about. Analog I want to hear about.
Is it-
Little
is this-
pieces of plastic I don't give a shit about.
Are we
They're
going to
not-
hear an hear an update to the Rygar core? Is that gonna be
There
an
is an update to the Tecmo core. And by the way, Josh Bassett, the guy who made it, subscribed to the channel. And I think he jumped on
Awesome.
our Discord.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
so don't
That
shit
is
on him,
really
all right?
cool. Hey, I never did. I'm shitting on Amiibos. I'm sorry.
Hey, these are not just pieces of plastic. They're
Okay.
pieces of joy.
Pieces of joy
There.
with some plastic and
As he said, Mike.
RFID chips in them.
As he said, Mike, without those pieces of plastic, he couldn't have his bath, monthly bath where he bathes
That
himself
is
in
true.
his amiibo.
I
So
actually
that
was
is true.
thinking of just selling them all the other day.
You say that every week, and then you
Do
talk
I?
about a new.
Yeah.
You say that all the time, and then you're like, I just bought 3 more.
No, I've got to keep buying them until I make a decision. You can't stop buying
Oh,
them.
that's how it works. You got to keep buying them till they make.
Hey,
a
think about
decision.
it.
Or
It
you're
makes
dead.
that,
One
that's
of the two.
perfectly logical.
Oh, I got to give up drugs, so I've got to take more drugs.
No,
Till you make a decision to
Dude.
get out of the drug business.
you can't wean yourself off that. You got to go cold turkey. That makes perfect sense. What I'm saying.
What
Sure.
you're saying is, I need to take more drugs to just
No,
stop
I
taking
need to
drugs.
take a consistent
Cold
supply.
turkey
that I'm
is you
currently
stop
doing.
right now.
I'm not buying extra. No, cold
No
turkey.
more.
I'd sell them, and then I'd consolidate to just a couple that I like, and then I'll build up from there again.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happens. It never works.
The day that I have more
One
amiibo
talk.
than you, then that day will never happen.
I'm just thinking. This is like reminiscing. I'm trying to remember what the first amiibo that I bought was.
I've got some really
Was it-
old Animal Crossing ones.
very innocuous.
Was it probably like the one that came with like Twilight Princess on Wii U or something?
It was my wife's fault. It was my wife's fault. I need to blame her because she bought a bunch. The way it worked was, I'll give you the little scoop. You know, I'm putting in the prime time
So
slot
I'm
of the
just like,
show.
we were in the outro. That's just amiibo segment.
Well, I need to put it here because I don't
All
want
right,
to talk
quick,
about
I'm
the
going to make
start.
a thumbnail. We're going to put this up as a clip.
But so like, I remember it was because like we bought something and then it was like Amiibo in Australia were all going on sale like crazy. It was like I got a whole bunch of them for $5 each, right? So that's kind of like we bought like 20 or 30 for $5. So then it just, you know, that's where the addiction started. What do you think of that, boys? Boys?
What's that? What's that? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
All right.
All
Back
right,
to
look
you,
forward to
host.
it next week. Look forward to next week.
Back to
Fantastic.
you, host.
Awesome. All right, see you all next week for some more Amiibo talk.
Beautiful.
See yous.
All right. Bye-bye.
Laters. Bye.